Hey everyone, welcome to another live episode of the Outlaw Nation here on the Outlaw Nation channel. This is the Outlaw Nation Show on the Outlaw Nation. Don't get it twisted. So much happening here on the channel. So much I'm excited about. Last night we crossed 12,600 subscribers. Thank you all so much for coming aboard the Outlaw Nation train. We are tiny, but we are mighty, and we are building step by step. You know, all the content putting out here. Mornings with the Outlaw. This Outlaw Nation Show. Game Time yesterday, the sports show we did about Adam Caparel from Complex Sports stopped by with Matt Nose. We reviewed the Last Dance documentary, the Michael Jordan documentary that came out on ESPN. Tomorrow we've got Geek Buddies recording, and we're dropping that on Thursday. And of course, live tomorrow, Strong Style, the pro wrestling show will be there live. It is now going live every week, the pro wrestling show. And of course, Jedi Way. That's the big announcement. My Star Wars show is starting this week. Jedi Way. Do I have a graphic for it? You're damn right I do. There it is. Jedi Way, hosted by John Rocha. You know why? Because I don't have enough shows. So damn it, I thought I'd add another one to my resume and talk a little nerdy stuff with everyone. I don't think this one's going to be a live stream. I think it's going to be a produced show, but it'll be a show for you all to enjoy. And then maybe I'll have an after, like a Q&A or something coming up later on in the week where we can talk about the things that I brought up, because I'm going to bring up some philosophical stuff, some controversial stuff, and things of that nature with Star Wars. That'll be fun. Also want to let you guys know, I hope you all have signed up to the Patreon. If you haven't, which is the right finger, that's the right finger, over this way. There we go. Patreon.com/John Rocha. Sign up for that. I've been doing it every week, having a hangout on Wednesdays that's on the Discord, and then on Thursdays having a live hangout with you all on Blue Jeans. We all get into a meeting room and talk about all kinds of things. Each of those hangouts is an hour. We got watch-alongs coming. There'll be Q&As, and you'll be able to participate in training me to take on Ethan Irwin. We all know as soon as Governor Gavin Newsom says, the sanctions are lifted, Christian Harloff is going to schedule matches that weekend. You know that's going to happen, so I have to be prepared for it to happen at any time. But tonight, let's focus on tonight, because I'm incredibly excited to welcome my guest. We will get to him in just a moment. He is the GOAT himself, Dan Murrell. He'll be talking about why he left Screen Junkies full-time, what he's going to be focusing on now. Going to talk about his YouTube channel, which has already skyrocketed to 19,000 subscribers. He's going to talk about what he may have left to do in the Schmoedown. What's his legacy? And also, in the second hour, I'm going to quiz him on some stuff around movies and get some thoughts from him. And of course, the Super Chats and the Streamlabs are already open for everybody to start submitting your comments. There's the Patreon. Sorry about that. Let's switch back over. To submit your comments, submit your Super Chats, submit your Streamlabs. We're going to cover all of that tonight. And some of you in the second hour will get a chance to come in live to ask questions of me and Dan. Let me bring in Wiley Todd, who is one of my moderators on the channel, tell you exactly how that can happen for you if you want to come in live to ask a question of me and the GOAT himself, Dan Murrell. Wiley, how are you, my man? What's going on?
Good. So, guys, it's very simple, and I know you guys are very excited because this is actually, and thanks to Rocha, you guys should be praising him, clapping him in the chat. This is your first time you get to talk to Dan Murrell face-to-face since this big announcement. So this is massive, massive. And the people that get the opportunity to do that, the first is the people that join the Patreon. If you guys want to do it right now, you guys can still have that chance. There's a 20-minute window for the people that are part of the Patreon that can join and queue up. So there might only be 4 guests, and those might only be Patreon. So you got to take that chance, you know? So if you guys want to join the Patreon to get it in that 20-minute window, you can. But if there's more than 4 guests, then we're going to be opening it up to you, the general public, after that 20 minutes. All you have to do is click the link that I will be sending out every now and then. That's my job, is to send that through. So therefore, you click on it, and it'll tell you pretty much what to do. But if you have any questions, when I mean any questions, just message me in the chat, and I'll kind of walk you through the chat on how to do it. But I swear it's simple. Do not be afraid. It's fun. And plus, you might regret not talking to Dan Murrell tonight. So take that chance, even if you're nervous. And
absolutely.
You guys don't need a microphone or a good camera like me and Rocha have. All you need is really your phone. You can do it all on your phone, and it's fine. So, guys, take that chance. You won't regret it. And good luck.
Thanks, Wiley. And, and I'll bring you out. And thanks for handling that. The great Wiley Todd there, handling things here for the Outlaw Nation on these live Outlaw Nation shows. The thing is, you want to get in early because, once we hit that 2-hour mark, maybe 2 hour 15, depending on Dan's schedule, we're going to cut it. And you might not get your chance to ask a question. So you want to get in here early, or send in your Streamlabs and your Super Chats early to make sure they get, highlighted on the show. For example, right off the bat, Larry Lease, 2 amazing Schmoedown champs already donating a little bit of money. Larry Lease again. Dan, thanks for all you do with SJU. I'm sure he's seeing that off camera just now. And we already have a super Streamlabs has come through from Brandy. She donated. She says, no question, just support for the Founding Fathers. Always like seeing you two together. All right. So without further ado, let us bring on one half of the tag team champions of the world in the Schmoedown, the Founding Fathers. A gentleman who just left Screen Junkies and left such a legacy with so many programs that he worked on there. Honest Trailers, all those reviews, SJ News, so many things that Dan Murrell worked on over at Screen Junkies. And also, he's got a knack for the box office. He's got knowledge about breaking down profits and profit margins and box office successes and box office flops. He loves to do all of that. He's hosted numerous shows. And now he's out on his own, the great Dan Murrell. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's got so much going on there. We're just at the baby steps. And he's like Bam Bam. He's so powerful. If you remember that from the Flintstones, he's already coming out the gate so powerfully. And I am incredibly honored and excited and blessed to have him on the show right now. Let's welcome him to the Outlaw Nation, the great, the GOAT himself, Dan Murrell. What's up, Dan? How are you, man?
What's up, John? How you doing, man?
Good.
I miss you.
Oh, that's very kind. Me too. Me too. What are we doing, man?
Oh, it's been a crazy time. It'd be a crazy time anyway, but it's like a triply crazy time. I have cats running around all over. I'm learning the joys of working from home, and one of them is that there's always a cat right outside the camera view.
Right. That's the way it works, man. They love doing that. We were just having Jen Sturger on Schmoedown backstage, and her dog Kevin kept nipping at her heels to the point where she had to bring him into the frame. But you are coming to us live from your new studio that you built out specifically for your YouTube channel. And real quickly, talk about that. Talk about that situation while I switch to give you enough. Oh, that's the wrong guy. Where is it? Where are you?
I love the action though too.
There he is.
Hey, there we go.
That's right. That's right. But tell us about that studio you built out. People have already watched 2 of your videos that you've dropped. Is that your studio? Is that in your house? Where is this?
Yeah, we had a spare room when we moved, not so terribly long ago, a while ago. But one thing that we always had in mind was because the digital media industry is so in flux.
Yeah.
One thing that we said was, hey, we should have an extra room if we can find an apartment that's, in our price range that has that. We should have an extra room in case this exact thing should happen. And it ended up, it happened because I chose to leave, not because, but we escaped barely an experience with Defy Media where they just went out of business literally one day to the next. So we had this room kind of on standby. And then when it was looking like this was going to be the move, Mara, who's incredible and amazing, really really came up with the design of this. And then, I would sort of say like, I like these colors. And then she'd do amazing things. All that stuff with like these angles and stuff. Like that's all math. Like I may do box office. I don't do math. She does math.
Okay.
But I was telling you beforehand, you find new things because we had these shelves that we hung up and, they were up for the first shoot that we did the other night. And then I came in to set up for this one. And there was just one of the things we had on the shelf was just a paper script, like Shaun of the Dead, just an actual script. And I picked it up and I like gently placed it on the shelf. And it was like a comedy, like both shelves just like fell out of the wall. It was just like, oh, so she's actually amazing. And she's going to go get some new stuff to hang up our shelves. So we put up these Batman and Superman stuff just to sort of make the set look nice because I couldn't have done this without her. I couldn't have done a lot of what I do without her. So it's been a fun couple days and it's man, this is a hustle. I admire. I was just telling Roxy, I admire you guys that have been doing this for a while because this is intense, but it's fun. It's unpredictable. It's fun. It can be frustrating, but I'm finding it's more rewarding, far more rewarding than those little moments of frustration along the way.
Yeah, I have to say that I agree with you because you're in control of your content. You're in control of what's going out there. You feel a stronger connection to the fans and the followers and the people who support the things that you do. So it gives you a little bit of a guideline of where you can go and the feeling that there are people who are going to be there waiting for you when you arrive. But yes, it's a steep learning curve the first time you jump out there. But what's positive is what I found, and I think a lot of us have found, is there's so many people in the Schmoedown community, in the outer community of film punditry, who are fans or followers who are willing to help and willing to put their time in, and sometimes at no cost, to help you do the things you do, because that's their way of saying thank you for all the content you've given them over the years. And I found that to be an incredibly humbling situation. And I'm sure you have felt that already, jumping right out the gate.
Definitely. I mean, I've had John Mariano, who's done a lot of graphics, helped me out with some graphics for the Patreon. Robert Holtby, who I worked with a lot on Honest Trailers, and at Screen Junkies, helped me out with some stuff, with some motion graphics. Emma Fife. Emma Fife sat me down and taught me more in 30 minutes about Discord than I could have figured out in 4 hours on my own. So, and then even like with Patreon and some of the patrons, as I'm figuring out things like Discord that have messaged me and said like, hey, if you need help, if you need it, Wiley, I would start Wiley. Is going to help me with a couple things. The amount of people that have been willing to stay, hey, I'll help you with this and I'll help you with that. It really does, you see a lot of bad headlines and stuff sometimes, but then you realize that, out here, you can lose sight of the fact that, like, in the real world, like the world of just individual people, there's some really, really amazing people out there that are willing to help each other. And it has been a really sort of invigorating and positive experience so far.
Yeah, sometimes the minority can be toxic, but the majority is not the minority by definition and by action. And when the majority of them step out and step in and want to help you, it really can change your perception of what's really going on out there in the fandom. And that's a positive overall. As I said earlier, that connecting with them, hearing from them, talking to them, it just means so much, and they're willing to help you out. It means so much as well. It's I don't know. It's a great way to remove the barrier of this kind of distance. And I don't know about you, and maybe we'll get into this right now before we jump into more stuff, but it seems like we needed this break. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to die from this virus, right? Of course, I say this with that perspective, with that understanding. It's an unfortunate thing that has happened. But it seems, if there's any kind of silver lining to this, it seems like the vitriol that had been building to such a high level, past that red mark between fans and critics and within the fan communities themselves, seems to have taken a little bit of a break or a little bit of a breather. And people are rediscovering their love of movies, rediscovering films they hadn't seen in a while, or discovering new movies they haven't seen before. And there's communications happening. Like today, there were 5 perfect movies. Even Lee Winnell weighed in with some of this. So you sense the community is kind of rebuilding or restructuring itself in this break. Have you sensed that as you've kind of stepped out?
I think so. I mean, I think what it does is it's sort of put everyone on an even playing field. I mean, from the people who are at the top of their game, A-list stars and directors, are in the same boat now as every other person out there. Yeah, and so I think it has even the playing field in the sense that, like, everybody is looking to the same things, or at least movie fans are looking to the same thing for comfort and to help pass the time and just to sort of keep a positive outlook on things. And I think what it's done is it's equalized things. And you realize that, movie lovers have that one thing in common, which is just this love for film and this love for movies. And that transcends all barriers of just like blue collar, white collar, A-list Hollywood, or, a guy who lives in the middle of North Dakota. Like, I think what it does is it shows you more of what we have in common. And a lot of times it can be like, oh, it's all about the barriers and like, someone like Edgar Wright could never have time to talk to this person or do that. But, now we're all in the same boat. And I think it's rediscovering this thing that, like, it is a community. There's different levels of it, but we all share one thing in common.
Yeah, one of the greatest things I've seen is how these directors and producers and actors have been willing to be part of these like watch-alongs or these reunions. Those actors from That Thing You Do getting together and having a kind of conversation for people to watch about them reuniting with each other. There's just, and like I said, it just feels like there's a little bit of this indirect silver lining happening here that I think we needed as fans and as pundits and as critics and whatever in this community. We just needed to everyone take a collective breath and kind of go back to our neutral corners and then take a moment and realize like what had been happening and maybe come back to this thing when we do come back to this thing down the road with a different perspective or a different approach, hopefully, and a different appreciation for, the blessings we have to be able to be nerding out and fighting over nerdy things when 20 years ago that would be unheard of, or 10 years ago even that might be unheard of, and we're seeing it now. All right, let's jump into some of these super chats real quick, Dan, if you don't mind.
Of course.
Mukbang Review says, I love Mornings with the Outlaw, but I'm here for Dan. You're the best, and I wish you all the best. There you go.
Thank you. Mukbang. That's like the food, right? Eat it like the food.
Yeah.
There's people have been asking, like, are you going to do food reviews? I'm like, if this lasts for much longer, yeah, I mean, I have to, because no movies coming out.
Exactly. Look, I didn't know what mukbang was until I started eating my breakfast during Mornings with the Outlaw, and people were like, "Oh, this is a mukbang video," and I'm like, "What does that even mean?" And then I went and looked them up, and I was like, "Wait, people will watch you eat? This is a real thing? What?"
Oh yeah.
Very, very strange. And then released with another super chat. He says, as a bull, I hate to say it, but go Knowles. Good luck with your new adventure. There you go.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's a USF bull.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry.
A quick question for you coming out of that, Dan. Let's get to the meat of the story here before we go any further. You stepped out of Screen Junkies. You had quite a legacy there. Everyone knew you there. You kind of built up, a strong reputation there as an essential foundational piece of that channel, and even more so after all the stuff happened, which we don't have to touch on, but all the stuff happened that was controversial a couple of years ago. You were one of those people, along with Roth and Spencer and a couple of Joe and a couple other people who were just really kind of the rock and the foundation of this to transition into this new Screen Junkies under the direction of fandom. And now you've stepped out on your own. So what was that process like? How long ago were you thinking about this? And what was maybe the inciting incident or inciting incidents that kind of gave you the signal that it was time to kind of step out on your own?
I mean, I don't know if there was one inciting incident.
Okay.
I will say it's a process of, and I think I said this when I left, it's a process of about a year's worth of like talking, and not just internal thought, but meeting with, because they were, even though we got acquired by fandom, still with Roth, and then we had our direct supervisor Michael. We still had the same people there with us. So it wasn't like I was meeting with all new people. We didn't have like a new boss or anything. So we'd had new owners, but
right.
So I was very comfortable talking to them, being very open with them about what I was thinking, and so I had many meetings with them over the last year or so to sort of talk about my role and things that I wanted to do. And I think we had one meeting where I sort of took in a list of things, like, because they said, like, we'll write a list of things that you might be interested in. I'm like, okay. Right. And so I wrote a list, and it's like, cover a film festival is something I've always wanted to do. Several different things. And coming out of that meeting, I think the answer to most of that was like, I don't really know if that's the direction that we're headed, and so we're gonna and they let me do a bunch of stuff like charting and there was no interference there, but as far as doing more stuff like that or on that path, that was sort of the message that kind of kept coming through. It was like, hey, listen, we get it, but it's just we're going a certain direction, and I don't necessarily know if that's where we're going. So that sort of formulated the thought process for me of like trying to decide, okay, so what do I want to do? And am I okay with not pursuing certain things? Because it's tough to give up a job, especially and a team that you love. I think really the clinching factor was I had sort of inquired about the possibility of like, well, if you're not interested in doing them here, like, could I do them on my own, sort of on the side? And the answer kind of came back like, no, they weren't really comfortable with that either, because we are seen as a team. And so if I'm kind of off doing my own thing, it's a combination of people are going to be asking, number one, like, what's going on with Dan? Is he leaving? If people talk, and then, it sets a precedent too for like, what if other people on the team want to do that? Then you have to worry about, if you set a standard, then if somebody else wants to do something, it could be a slippery slope. So the combination of those two things sort of led me to come to this decision point of, do I stay or do I go? And ultimately, I said, I ended up at Screen Junkies because I was at a job where I didn't really see a road there to what I wanted to do, and I took a leap of faith and said, I've got to try this. And it was, when I was doing to be a freelance editor, and that landed me editing at Screen Junkies, which led to everything else. And so, some people would say don't tempt fate and do it again. But I kind of said, like, listen, I listened to my gut, I listened to my instincts then, and it led me to this incredible job that I had for over 7 years and opened doors for me that I never even dreamed of. And I just felt like I had that pull in my gut to do it again. And that's where I wound up and why I decided to make that decision.
What was their reaction, if I can ask? Were they trying to tempt you to stay? Were they trying to were they a bit more lenient in understanding the fact that, it's to the point where he wants to leave if he doesn't get to do these things? Did that make them hesitate a little bit, or did they understand that they couldn't provide you with the opportunities that you were looking for, and in essence, the satisfaction you wanted to have at this stage in your career?
I mean, I can't. I wish I was. Sometimes I wish I was psychic and I knew what everyone was thinking. But I think part of it is, like I said, and I said this in my launch video, is that fandom, who first of all saved Screen Junkies from. Yes. Smosh and Clever were so lucky to get people like Rhett and Link, and I think Hearst brought Clever to buy them and keep, I think, most or not all of their team employed. But there's no guarantee that would have happened with Screen Junkies if fandom hadn't bought us. Like they could have decided we're only doing honest trailers, and they could have brought back like 3 people, and that would have left most of our team out. In the cold.
In the cold, yeah.
So them buying us saved us and kept that team together for sure. But as I mentioned, they're a big company. Like all of those fandom wikis and stuff, they are looking to build that brand and that globally, like not just nationally, but globally. Right. So I think that they were very understanding of me and very appreciative of me. There was never any resentment or anger. There were never really any angry negotiations or conversations. I think there was a lot of understanding there. There was understanding from them, especially, at the top of, these are the things that I want to do and support, and they still support me. I still support them. The only thing that I regret is that, I had sort of made that decision and spoken to obviously, my supervisors and the people in charge. And then a few of the senior people like Spencer and Joe that I had worked with for a long time, because, first of all, I wanted to try to stay on, and I'm working on a couple of Honest Trailer projects still. So before I asked if I could do that, I wanted to talk to them and say, like, hey, do you even want me to do that? So there were a few people that knew.
Right.
But the thing that I really regret is the day that I was telling everybody that I was leaving was the first day that fandom told everyone that working from home was mandatory. So instead of getting to talk to all of them face to face, I had to call all of them on the phone and tell everybody on the phone, and I had the conversation like 15 times throughout the day. So I regret that, just with the timing, I didn't have a chance to tell most of them or even see most of them before I left in person. There was a handful of people that were there that day that I was making those calls. So I do regret that I didn't really get to see most of our team before I left. But as soon as it is safe and legal, we're going to get together and have a little shindig. But that's awesome. My only regret. It's just with the timing of it, I wasn't able to have the kind of goodbye with that team that I wanted to.
The kind of closure you were hoping, as a gentleman who'd been there for 7 years and had spent so much time with these wonderful people, both the ups and downs and everything like that, building that channel. So totally understandable. Let's jump into some more of these Streamlabs and Super Chats. They're coming in at a rapid pace, Dan. Everybody wants to ask you stuff. Matt Majot says, I love you both. Became a Dan patron yesterday and finally bit the bullet on Rocha's. Can't wait for the future.
That's great. Thank you, Matt. Thanks for both of us. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it madly. It's always kind when people come aboard. Ferris Muthana says, I smell goat. Absolutely. You do smell goat. Let's see. Let's take him down. Let's do it. Jump another. Jonathan Carroll says, hey, Dan, best of luck to you on your new channel. Question to you and Rocha. What were your favorite Honest trailers, especially behind the scenes? Dan, do you have a favorite?
Well, behind the scenes, and we actually talked about this on my farewell show on SJ News, but the whole process with Ryan Reynolds with the first Deadpool trailer that we did was actually really interesting because we recorded we recorded everything, and then like we sent it to him, and like we worked with him a few times. Like he said,
yeah,
oh, I can do better than that. Like we can do better here. And so I think it ended up, to get the final audio, like we hired someone in London.
Wow.
I think that recorded his audio in a car, like on the set of some movie he was doing, to get like the pickups, because like he's like, and he would come with suggestions. He's like, oh yeah, thank you, because we would just send him a script, because we're like, he's Ryan Reynolds, he's an international superstar. He would like send us punch ups and be like, oh, I had a better idea. Like, what if you guys did this? And like he would give us like script notes, and like this is not through his rep. Like he didn't do any of this through his studio or through his rep. Like this was like direct person-to-person communication.
Wow.
So those were always the best, because like, talk about people that get it. Like he and The Rock and a few others, like when like promoting a movie and knowing what you have to do, like he got it. And he got the idea of like, if I take this to my PR rep, then it's all going to get lost in scheduling. And then you got to run it by the studio head. And he's just like, it's a funny idea, I'm just going to do it. Because what are they going to do? They're going to yell at him and tell him he can't do it. So,
exactly.
But that was a lot of fun. I'm just like, actually Ryan sent over some jokes and they're really good. So we're going to re-record. It's like, great. Because he could have just done it, in 10 minutes and been done with it. But behind the scenes, that was a lot of fun just to see that come together.
I bet. I mean, just looking at Ryan and his the height of his comeback in that way, and his comedy, just so perfect. So the next one here is from Richard Ganther. Says, just want to say thanks for all you both do. Truly, Rocha, the willingness you've had to be open with your struggles and successes has made a difference to so many. That's very kind. Thank you, Dan. Your passion and insight is an inspiration.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Very kind. Very kind, Richard. One more, and we'll jump into some Streamlabs here real quick. Did the Clash play in your head? Do I stay or do I go? Says Dragon Reborn.
It felt like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any hesitations? Were there any questions in your mind up until the last minute? Like, were there like what when did you have hesitations, questions?
I mean, I told them, like, because I would go back to them every time with a new round of questions, like, what about this, or what about this, or can we try this, or can you ask them that, because they'd have to run stuff up and down and I joked to them for a while. It's just like, it's like I make Hamlet look decisive with this, because that was always like a different thing. But I really wanted to, and I told them this is like, if I decide to leave, I want to leave knowing that I asked about every option, that I looked into behind every door, that I looked, at every possible road that I could take, that could maybe allow me to stay or stay a little bit more before I leave. And so, I mean, it was a very long process of different iterations and different scenarios. And can we try this? And can we try that? Or what about that? Yeah. And of course there was a lot of doubt, and there was actually a plan for me to leave earlier than I did, because, because we were still shooting in studio, even though it was a suggested working from home, but we were still shooting stuff in the studio. So the plan was to like batch shoot a bunch of shows one day and then shoot a farewell show that would have aired, I think, like in mid-March. And it just, then this mandatory stay at home came through, and then it became about like, well, we don't want to just do it. We want to have some kind of structure and plan. So we pushed it back a little bit, but it was a very long process, and it was a lot of like me saying like, oh man, do I want to do this? I mean, up until the day before, like the night before we were announcing, of course, Mara will tell you just like, what am I doing? Oh my God, I made a huge mistake. Am I doing the right thing? It was obviously it's
To quote Jerry Maguire, that's how you become successful, man. Just put your balls out there. So I respect the fact that you did it. And it's nice to hear about an outlet that respects its employees and wants to give them a proper send-off. That's a nice thing. I like that. It's a rarity in this business.
It was nice. It was very nice to see that they wanted to actually say goodbye and not just
kick you out the door.
Send a mean tweet.
Yeah, good reference. All right, let's put in the Streamlabs here. Jimmy21 says, Dan, I noticed you aren't displaying any titles in your video. Just being humble or just not the right place for them? Also, do you have your movie fight belt at home, or is it at the Screen Junkies office?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not showing any titles. Oh, you mean like my belts and stuff?
Yeah, you mean like,
as I mentioned, my shelves fell down under the weight of a script, so I got to make sure the shelves that we've actually got them, they can hold some weight. The movie fights belt is not with me. It belongs to Screen Junkies, so it is there. People have asked me about the title. I don't know. As far as I know, I'm still the movie fights champion. They haven't told me that I'm not. So
interesting.
And like I said, we're still friendly and very supportive of each other. So I would certainly hope that I get the chance to go back at some point and defend the title. But no, the belt belongs to Screen Junkies, and it stayed there.
There you go. Jake Primetime says, my two favorite people on the internet. Oh, thank you, Jake. I just watched Pulp Fiction for the first time and absolutely loved it. I was wondering what each of you guys' favorite Tarantino movie is. Thanks for all you guys do, and good luck, Dan, on your new adventure. So, favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, man?
Mine is Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
That's my favorite, and I rewatched all of them for Honest Trailers last year, and I still hold to that. I love Hans Landa. I love just Christoph Waltz in that movie, and it's got the comedy. I love everything about that movie. So that one's my favorite.
All right. Mine is Kill Bill, the whole bloody saga, not that separate stuff. When they're all together, that entire film is my favorite Tarantino film. To me, as a samurai fan, he'll just never do better for me, in my opinion, followed by Reservoir Dogs, a close second. Delicia Renee says, hey, John and Dan, big fan of you both and super happy with the progress you guys are making in such a short time. I think it's a testament to how much the community loves you. My question, what is your favorite trait about your Schmoedown partner? All right, you don't have to answer this if you don't.
No, I'll answer it. Yeah.
What's your favorite trait about your Schmoedown partner?
Your heart, your passion, your enthusiasm, your faith, unwavering faith. Not in just our team, but in me personally. I've talked about it on. I think on here when we were talking about Atlanta or somewhere, but just the fact that you keeping me grounded, and even when I was convinced that I was going to lose, you saying like, "Shut up, you're not losing. Get your ass back out there and finish the game." Like, that helped me so much. So yeah, just that never-ending enthusiasm and faith in me as your teammate, and then and just the heart and the passion that you bring to the game. That's my favorite.
That's very kind. Thank you, Dan. For me, it's always going to be Dan's unshakability. Like, it's incredible how many big moments Dan has had in the Schmoedown as a competitor, how many big title matches he's had. And yes, there are moments where he will doubt himself in a match, but those are rare moments, and most of the time it's even keel. And there's a joy to the way he plays the game that a lot of people don't see behind the scenes. There is a joy, and I just gravitate to that. He loves it as much as I do, in a different way, and I enjoy that. That's the number one thing, honestly, to you. Not even just the Schmoedown, but in life, you have an even keelness to you. That's why people love coming to you. You have a natural energy that people want to be around, brother, and so that's the number one thing. And I'm honored to be your friend and honored to be your partner, honestly, in the Schmoedown. It's my blessing. Trust me on that.
It is. And in an alternate universe, we already would have defended our belts.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Corruption would be so upset about it right now, sitting at home, coming up with a new excuse for why they lost. By the way, Road Jimmy 21 further says, by the way, congrats on your successful launch, Dan, on your channel and your Patreon. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Handy Sweat Ben Rayner says, hey guys, the Founding Fathers are my favorite Schmoedown team. Rocha, loving your shows, morning show, and this one. Can't wait for your Star Wars show as well. And Dan, wish you the best of luck on your new ventures. We're huge fans of you guys over at the Media Sweaty Network. Very kind.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've seen those guys on Twitter. It's been a lot of Twitter stuff the last few days, but I noticed those guys shouting out. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Has it been a humbling experience to see how many people have really kind of come aboard the train and supported you right off the bat? Were you overwhelmed by that? Especially as you just admitted, you had some fears about making this decision.
I was overwhelmed, and I continue to be overwhelmed. The first day and a half, now almost 2 days, has been beyond my wildest expectations of what it could have been, just as far as subscribers on the channel and Patreon. And I'm already talking to a lot of the people over on Patreon, and they are so nice and patient as I figure everything out, and supportive, and have so much faith in me and what I'm doing. It's been beyond humbling. I generally sort of try not to expect too much. Like I like to sort of set expectations low so that I can be a little more, if they're met, then I'm like, oh, that's great. But even the wildest expectations that I set in my head, so far it's been so far beyond that. So it has been extremely humbling to see the enthusiasm that people have shown so far.
Yeah, it's been great to watch from over the last few days from a distance, watching the responses to your tweets and people's just incredibly kind words. Michael Campbell says, "Hey guys, so happy to see you guys are enjoying doing your own thing. Just wanted to ask a top 5 question. What are your top 5 favorite Hitchcock films?" Ooh, that's tough. Top 5. That is tough.
Okay. Well, let's see. Psycho.
Okay.
Rear Window.
Okay.
Strangers on a Train.
Good choice.
Shadow of a Doubt, which is a great underrated Hitchcock movie.
Joseph Cotten in that one.
Cotton is so good in that movie.
He is good in that.
Oh man, he made so many good movies. I mean, did I say Vertigo already?
You have not.
But is that good? I mean, Vertigo is amazing. It's an incredible movie, but he made so many incredible movies. Those are the first 5 that spring to mind. Although, like, I loved Island for Murder. I love, like, there's so many. I'm just gonna say those 5 because they're the first 5 that popped into my brain. I love those. Those are great Hitchcock movies.
I'll go with Vertigo. I'll go with Rope. I love Rope because it's in essence a play. As a movie, and I'm a massive fan of plays, so to see that playing out the way it does in the movie is incredible, and it's a nice color on Jimmy Stewart that you rarely get to see him play. I think I will say Lifeboat. Lifeboat's one of my favorites. Once again, a self-contained kind of dialogue-heavy story with switches and allegiances. Switching allegiances throughout the movie, which I love. I'd say, you have to throw Psycho in there. There's no way you can't. And maybe The Birds. I really like The Birds. I'm a fan of that one. I remember my mom introduced me to that one, and it's always been an interesting film to go back and revisit. Let's jump in a couple more super chats here real quick. Noam Science says, "How's this for a Schmoedown What If match? Team champs never broke up. Ben Bateman, I guess, and Rocha form Who's the Outlaw, and they play a team retirement match." Holy crap! Wow,
man,
woo. Wow.
That'd be a tough one. I mean, that'd be a real tough one. I mean, we already played technically in a retirement match.
We did. Yeah.
We did. Wait, did we? Yeah, we won the title, right?
Oh, yeah, we won the title.
So we would have broken up. That'd be a hell of a match. I mean, we're all now part of the exchange. So, and we're all horsemen. So,
yeah.
But man, that'd be pretty nuts. That'd be pretty nuts.
I agree. I think it would end in a draw. It would be the first ever draw in the Schmoedown. It would just go to the end of the draw.
I agree.
Reed Gibson says, "Dan, I've been a big fan of charting. How would you feel about a box office Schmoedown exhibition match?" Woo!
I mean, that sounds like fun, but I don't know what kind of questions you could ask. I mean, they'd all have to be very specific. I think it would actually be fairly low scoring. And it would just be about, hitting the right thing that people know. But I think it'd be very niche, but a lot of fun.
People forget because they don't ask those questions anymore. But when we first were doing the first few seasons of the Schmoedown, there were questions like which film was the number one film at the box office in 1998 or in 1987, or which Harry Potter film was the highest grossing Harry Potter film. And you'd have to get close to, and sometimes the amounts were a multiple choice, and you had to choose which amount. So people forget we did have box office questions way back when in the Schmoedown. I'm glad they've gone away though. For myself personally.
Yeah, definitely.
Dan and John, any favorite YouTubers? I'll go with Joe Rogan, but there are so many. Yeah. What about you? Do you have any favorites?
I mean, I've been very open about the fact that it's kind of ironic, but I've been working on YouTube so long, I very rarely actually have time to watch a lot of YouTube. So I don't actually have a lot of favorite YouTubers. The ones that I do see are, mostly movie related. So I enjoy How It Should Have Ended. I like Lindsay Ellis's essays. I think are really, really good and really well crafted and put together. When she puts those out, I think those are really strong. I know they have a complicated relationship with us too, but an even more complicated relationship with Collider. But I'm a fan of Red Letter Media.
Red Letter Media, yeah.
I am. I know that. Trust me, I've had Nerd Crew and Very Cool and everything else. It all goes in our comments too. So I've seen it, but there's a couple things they've done that I think were a little too much. Yeah. But generally, I really like. I like the mix. I like the dynamic that they have there. The different kinds of stuff that they do, and I like the long form video review. Yeah. I'm a fan of the fact that they'll do a movie 3 months after it comes out and do a longer discussion on it. I think that, myself included, there's a lot of us that sort of jump on the train as early as we can.
Yeah.
It's cool to see them sort of take their time with it and revisit it many, many weeks or months later and do a longer take on it. I think that's a really unique way of doing reviews for newer films. So I like Red Letter Media. And that sorry, one more thing, but that first Mr. Plinkett, I love all the Mr. Plinkett reviews, but that first Mr. Plinkett review of Phantom Menace is like, I know that this got jokes about pizza rolls and people in the basement and all that stuff, but like from a critical media perspective, that is one of the best pieces of film criticism that I've ever seen on the internet. Like, that is a top-notch piece of just breaking a movie and story structure and characterization down. Like, it's so good. So yeah.
Respect is. I don't think they've made too much fun of me when I was at Collider. So I never had a negative kind of vibe for Red Letter Media. I know they made fun of other people at Collider, things of that nature. Maybe I wasn't big enough for them to come after, or maybe they just didn't feel like it, or maybe they knew I'd drive to their house and pull their arms off. Who knows? But either way, you got to say that a lot of people do enjoy their content, no doubt. I like them. I like Emergency Awesome. I like Flickinger's stuff. I'm a big fan of a muscular critic like that. It's rare to see a muscular nerd, so I like to see that guy and the way he breaks things down. I'm trying to get Flickinger on here at some point down the road. I do enjoy Stuckman. Jeremy Johns is fantastic as well in his own way. We got How It Should Have Ended is brilliantly fun to watch, because that's the way you make a name for yourself, is a unique approach to something and have it work and be funny and intelligent. Fans will come and enjoy that kind of stuff, because if they watch something that gives them a new perspective on something that they had never even considered, it's a sure way to get people to be aboard your train on your channel.
Well, and I'm looking forward to watching How It Should Have Ended even more, because they do animation, they can do stuff earlier than we could do it on a trailer.
Right.
So I would actually avoid How It Should Have Ended until we'd done the honest trailer, because I never wanted to have any kind of like a subconscious thing where like I saw something that they did and then it was even like buried in my brain when we were doing an honest trailer. Like, I just wanted to make, because they are so funny. So I'm looking forward now to catching up on their stuff even earlier, because I'm still going to contribute stuff to honest trailers here and there, but I'm not at Screen Junkies full time, and so I think I can also watch a lot more of the movie stuff. And we worked with Jeremy and Chris at SJ Plus. I love those guys, and and Flickinger. Talk about pulling your arms off. He is the nicest, most intimidating buff nerd that you'll ever meet in your life.
It's true. He reached out to me last week. He's like, how the hell do you get those videos in front of your shows? Like, who did that for you? And I was like, it just seemed logical to me to do that. I just reached out to a friend. He's like, I want the name. And I'm like, all right, in exchange, you come on my show. He's like, no problem. So we're working that out right now. But yes, out of fear, I was like, I got to trade something for this, or it's going to kill me.
I like
he is a good guy. Yes. Gnome Science says, I also just joined your Patreon, Dan. Good luck. There you go.
Thank you, Gnome. Thank you very much.
Picking people up left and right here on the Patreon. I think that's everything for right. We have 328 of you all watching me. Watching us rather. My God, that's incredible. Please swing your cursor over and hit that like button, because there's only 176 likes. Let's get to 300 likes. Let's go. Swing that cursor button over, hit that like button. Also, if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. I do content like this all the time, having great guests on all the shows that we do here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Please hit that subscribe button down there. Get me as close to 19,000 as quickly as I can, for God's sakes, and give it some love. So would appreciate you all coming aboard the train as well. Let's see. This one from Dragon Reborn, going in raw, YouTube starting a machinima and did at 10 FTW. I don't know what any of that means. Do you?
Going in raw YouTube. I know machinima.
Okay, I know machinima.
10 for the win. I don't know if 10 for the win. I've never felt older than I do at this moment.
All right, let's move past it.
Thank you, Dragon.
Yeah, thank you, Dragon. Richard Ganther says, favorite modern horror directors. I feel like Osgood Perkins, Anthony Perkins' son, by the way, is underrated. Do you have any modern horror directors that you enjoy?
Jennifer Kent, who did the Babadook.
Yes. Yes.
It's great. And she did Nightingale, which was not quite the same vibe, but the horror of the Babadook was so gripping. And
did you like the Nightingale? Like, I have it on Hulu. It is on my list to watch. Is it something I should put myself through? Because Perry told me that it is an experience, and she never really figured out if she liked it or hated it. But it was an experience. Is that a correct analysis?
I started it and I got a few minutes in I think I'd heard that too, and I kind of realized as I was getting into it, I was like, I don't know if tonight's the night, and so I feel bad, but I never looped back to it. I know that it's not a horror, quote unquote horror film in the way that the Babadook was. The Babadook had a lot of other levels too.
Yeah.
But I'm actually of the same thing where it's like it's something that I was so anticipating seeing, but have yet to find myself in the mood because it's like it's brutal. It's gonna spit you out the other side, and it's been that's a tall order. So I need to go back and finish it. But I still, I think that the Babadook is my favorite horror movie of the last several years. And then if you want to put Ari Aster in there as a horror director too, modern horror director, always somebody that I'm going to be interested in. And then I found that I enjoy James Wan's movies, horror films. I don't like a lot. I like a lot of horror films, but I certainly don't like most horror films.
Yeah.
And so I like James Wan's sensibility as well.
Yeah. I like Alexandre Aja. I enjoy his approach to things. I enjoyed Crawl and the two other films he did before Crawl. I can't think of them right now. And Bong Joon-ho, some of his horror films are fantastic, and they're all on Hulu now. Mother's on Hulu. The Host is on Hulu. There's a number of things you can go back and explore Bong Joon-ho's, some of his earlier work as well. So there is stuff to enjoy out there while you're, kind of self-isolating and doing your thing. This one's from from Paul Denuzio. He says, I can't watch live because of work, but I'm excited for your new channel. Dan, the Action Army wishes you the best of luck. There you go.
Thank you, Paul. I'm going to be talking to one of the commander. What's Bateman's what's his rank over at the Action Army?
I really
President?
Yeah, sure. Commander in Chief.
Anyway,
like that.
I've been talking to Ben, and I think I'm going to be talking to him real soon too. So love the Action Army. Everyone over there has been very nice.
Yeah. See, is that in the Nerds in Suits? Is that his show? He announced it today on
I don't know. I just been I talk about the hustle that you guys have is you all host so many different shows that when somebody says like, hey, do you want to do my show? Then I'm like, yes, but I don't know what show it is, but I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, I hear you. And this is why I almost always go on any show that if I know them and they've asked me to be on it, because it's a way of giving back, because so many people have been kind enough to come on my shows, including you tonight, Dan, which I really, really appreciate. This is from Thoughts on Facings of Flirt and Flaus in the Schmoedown. We couldn't have gone one stream without this, I suppose. Thoughts on this, Dan?
Here's what was happening. That happened, I think, last week, which was like I've been so busy, like getting the studio set up and painting and the lights and the equipment and everything. And then one day I just get all of these tweets about some German dude who's going to be like so I don't know. I'm so not in the Zaflirts and Flaus universe yet. So I'm going to take a pass on commenting on Zaflirts and Flaus for now until I can really do a little more opposition research.
Fair enough.
What exactly is going on?
Fair enough. Let me run through a few more of these because, like I said, they're coming in at such a high clip, Dan. I'm trying to get them all done so we can hit some subjects I want to ask you about. The Schmo way here's this is the dynamic duo is what he says about us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Benny Haste says, consumed a lot of Rocha already today. Cinephiles watched or listened to his 12 Angry Men episode and then the new top 10 episode, the top 10 movies based on a play. What are some smaller, lesser known movies that you wish would get more attention, Dan and John? The first one that always jumps to mind for me is the 1980s film, My Bodyguard, with a young, is it Adam Campbell? Is that his name? I think that's his name. I forget what it was. Yeah. Anyway,
predates me.
Yeah. Do you have any smaller films that you feel should get more love or things of that nature that you wanted to see? Or things like that, rather. I'm starting to stop. Yeah.
I feel bad because I always say the same ones over and over. I really need to go back and generate a list of more of them. I always mention Notes on a Scandal. Which is a great Judi Dench, Cate Blanchett movie from the mid 2000s, I want to say. And then Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, which was Sidney Lumet's last film, which is a great movie. A little harder to find too. Sadly hard to find. Yeah. But great performance from Philip Seymour Hoffman. So that's one that doesn't come up as much. I'm trying to think if there's any others that just like sort of ping into my head. Those are the first two I can think of. So.
There's a Hoffman one. What's the last one he did before he passed? The Good German, or where he's overseas and it's about 9/11. I forget what it was called, but that's a fantastic film that nobody talks about that much. And it was his last performance, I think, on screen, and he was so good in that role. He's also great in Charlie Wilson's War, which is sort of overlooked as a film, but which I really enjoy. He's so good in that movie. Directed by
Tom Hanks.
That's right, Tom Hanks. There we go. See, we're still sharp.
Right? No.
We're still sharp. Yeah, Tom Hanks.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did he direct it? Now I want to say he didn't direct it.
Aaron
Sorkin wrote it.
Yes.
Aaron Sorkin wrote it. Tom Hanks did Larry Crown.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Charlie Wilson's War. He did Larry Crown and he did That Thing You Do.
Was that Mike Nichols?
Yes, no. Mike Nichols directed.
Was it Mike Nichols? Okay, yes. All right.
So
we would have gotten there.
Eventually, but if I just blurted it out, I would have gotten that wrong on the Schmoedown, and I felt like a real schmuck.
That's why we always talk before we answer any of those crazy questions. Sorry, I have to. As a flirt and floss. All right, Richard, you got your shot in. Congratulations. I have a T-shirt designed for Founding Fathers. Where can I send it? Really? Ooh. Please. You can send it to John Stephen Rocha at gmail.com, and I'll pass it on to Dan, and we'll see if we want to start doing some T-shirts. Lord knows we need some. That T-shirt we had that a fan made up in Florida for us in Orlando was incredible. Mm-hmm. We posted a picture of it. It was Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, then it was Murrell, and then a couple other Patriots, and then Rocha, and it said Founding Fathers. It was brilliant.
It was a great shirt. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see it. Mukbang says, Dan, you're hilarious. Have you ever thought of doing stand-up?
I do not have anywhere close to the courage. I don't know how stand-up comedians do it, because you could be on your game. You could be as prepared as you can be and just die up there. Yeah. I mean, I've certainly, no. I don't think I don't think I have the fortitude for it. I really, really don't.
Dan's like, I could have given you a 5-minute speech. I'm just gonna tell you no.
I don't. I mean, it would certainly potentially be an interesting thing to do, but I just don't think that I've got the guts to do it.
Yeah. Ferris Mathana donated here. He says, going on Michael Campbell's questions. He's only donated a small amount, so he's asking for top 5 Westerns. Dan, how about 2 or 3? How about 2 or 3 Westerns that are
for me?
Favorite? Yeah.
I love Tombstone. God.
Uh-oh.
Do you not like Tombstone?
I hate Tombstone, but go ahead. I like Val Kilmer, but I don't like Tombstone. Go ahead.
Fair enough. I love Tombstone. Oh man, Westerns are, Unforgiven is a basic answer, but it's also a Western that's really, really good. High Noon.
Oh yeah.
Classic. Gotta love High Noon. Yeah. That's one that I love. Those are the first ones that jump to mind.
Okay.
Blazing Saddles.
Blazing Saddles. That's definitely a Western, man. That counts.
Yeah.
Haskell 420 says, hi, John and Dan. This is awesome. As John knows, I share everyone's shows, and I'll be sharing yours also, Dan, because like many, I'm a fan, but also because I and we believe in you, your honest thoughts, opinions, and dedication. The new Murrell order has begun. Wow.
Thank you. Wow. It sounds like something the Emperor would say. Yeah. You're giving me chills.
The new Murrell order.
Yes, you must join the new Murrell order.
Subscribe. Philly G says, I love what you both do. Dan, good luck on your new venture.
Thank you.
There you go. Yeah. And speaking of which, let's jump into this because this is also Kristen, is it Christian who sent in this last one? There it is. He says, can't wait for Dan's future YouTube career. Great. Using Christian's hair loss. Oh, Christian hair loss.
I thought that was photoshopped.
It wasn't. It's real. He looks like your brother. It's insane.
It's shocking. Mara showed me the picture because I had seen that picture and I thought it was photoshopped. And then she showed me another picture. She's like, no, he really did it. And I looked at it and I was like, I thought 2 things. I was like, number 1, we look like we're related.
Yeah.
And then number 2, do you know what I would give for that head of hair? Why would you shave that off? But yeah. No, I thought that was Photoshop. So I agree, though. We do look strikingly similar once you do the head shaving.
$2,000, I think, is what they donated for him to shave his head.
Really?
And then Zaflord and Flaus, I think, was around that, or maybe it was $1,200, something like that. And they asked me, like, some people came out, how much would it take? I was like, you got to start at 5 and now it's gone to 7,500, and now I'm at 10 grand. This isn't Christian Harloff hair or Brett Sheridan hair. This is incredible hair. I'm not shaving this off.
Don't do it, John.
Yeah, unless it's a lot of my. Plus, I don't think I look good bald, to be honest with you.
I'm very lucky. At least my head doesn't look weird when I, have to go hatless. So
yeah, true. Good point. You do look good without the hat. People don't know that. They should know that. But these questions that have come in just now, this is where I want to get to next, Dan. What is your overall goal with the YouTube channel? You planned out this whole thing, painted the room, got it all squared away. So clearly you're a gentleman who thinks ahead about a lot of these things and where you want to go. Now, you may have some hesitations, but you still go forward and do it. Do you have shows already in your mind that you've been preparing and kind of conceiving, maybe by yourself or with Mara or with friends? Is there something that you could kind of give the people a hint of what might be coming on your YouTube channel?
Sure. I mean, yes, the answer to planning ahead, yes. Like, do I have shows that are done or that I've shot? No, because it's largely my efforts right now have been about launching the channel. I was also with Screen Junkies. There's been an overlap period, and I didn't want to give them short shrift. So it's been kind of juggling both of those and getting everything up and running. But yes, I do have ideas for shows. I'm going to be doing a review. I'm doing a review of Picard. That's going to come out later this week. So reviews are a big part of the channel. But also, I think largely one reason that I didn't over prepare was, I wanted to get launched, and then I wanted to hear kind of what, I asked my patrons, I've asked the people on YouTube, just, what do they want to see?
Yeah.
And so I had some ideas of things that I'm going to execute before. Like I said, I have an idea for a show about movies that I think are perfect. Like, I have no criticisms of them whatsoever. Wow. That's going to be very much about movies that I love, but not just love, that I think you cannot, to me, you can't find anything wrong with these films. It's not Corona, I promise. I also, analysis film, one of the big things that I love doing, and they take so much time, but like essays and analysis and breakdowns of film on different subjects. Charts obviously is a big part of it. So box office, and one of the great things that I've already gotten from so many people is, I sort of said, I don't know yet what to do until there is a box office yet. I got a few suggestions from people on Patreon and in the YouTube, comments, just from several different people, some really fun, cool ideas for how to do charts when there's no box office that I think I'm going to follow up on, and that sort of sparked off some things. So it's a combination of, I want it to really reflect who I am and the movies that I love, past and present, but also reflect the audience and reflect, what they want to see from me, because, I could plan 600 different shows and make them all ahead of time, but if it's not something that the audience is interested in, then it's not really gonna gel. That's not to say that everything I do is going to be dictated by the audience. But I do think that it's smart to sort of start with the basics and get your feet under you and see, what your audience thinks and what they're interested in seeing, and go down some of those paths. There is still I doing a 90 Day Fiance joke or show is not a joke to me. I'm heavily considering doing something, because why not?
Yeah.
Maybe throw in all the other reality shows that I watch into one show, but that's one of the appealing things, is also that kind of flexibility. Is I don't have to do things that fit necessarily into a certain box. If I have a weird idea, I can do it, and just the only loss that I'm going to take is my own. I'm not putting anyone else's money or time on the line for it. I'm not running it up the chain, and we have to decide where it goes in the priority list. Like, if I decide I want to do it, then I'll do it. And, if it doesn't work, then that's on me. It doesn't reflect on anyone else. It doesn't reflect on the channel, other than my own channel. So that's sort of my philosophy.
Yeah, I understand and respect that. Absolutely. Because the thing is, what I learned now in the short amount of time that I've been doing is that you've got to strike where the iron is hot, but also play the long game. So you've got to walk that tightrope between both, which is start off strong with a good product, and then fans will have faith in you, so you can take a little bit of time to construct the shows you want to put out. And when you put them out, you're proud of them, and people will gravitate to them. Or if they don't, you'll understand, okay, that's the content that my fans don't want to see. So you'll work on other things. It opens the doors for other channels. Other shows rather, that you may have thought about in your head. So yeah, it's trial and error for sure. And that's the fun part of it all, to be honest with you. As long as you can stay afloat, the fun part of it is figuring out what people want to see. Lord knows I have like 20 ideas for shows, but I'm also crazy exhausted all the time now, even more so than when I was at Collider. I feel like I'm even more exhausted now because I think about the channel 24/7. I mean, even when I wake up, my girlfriend, she can tell immediately when I'm into the cuddle or when I'm off somewhere else. I'm holding her, but I'm off somewhere else thinking about a show. She'll just slap me on the chin and be like, come back down here. So, it's a good thing. Jake Giacobetta, this is a question that's come in a million times, so I got to give Jake a little bit of love here to put it up here. Since Dan is saying yes to shows, we still need to get him on Chilled to Action. LOL.
I know. I'm sorry, Jake.
Thing, right? This has just been time.
It's not. It's literally just been like, and part of it is like I couldn't really say anything for a long time because I hadn't announced it yet. But a lot of it was just sort of like trying to wrap my head around everything that was going on, and I was there was that whole week where I was on like action guys and Roxy's show and Riley's show, and like I stacked all of them together because I knew I was announcing the next week, and I was like, I know that if I do this after I announce but before I leave, that it's just gonna get the I'm so sorry. It's just gonna sort of all be questions about Screen Junkies and me leaving. So
yeah.
I promise, Jake, it is nothing personal. But I need to. Don't worry, John. It's fine. It can't come through this microphone, I don't think. I promise I will. It's just been a very crazy. That's all right. It's warm in here too. I turned off the air conditioning so that that wouldn't pick up on the microphone, and I forgot it was a 2-hour show. So I'm also I'm schwitzing. I'm sweating.
Well, feel free to take off the flannel if you want. But yeah, so there you go. Action Army. He will be coming on Chill to Action. It's been nice to be the #1 viewed show on Chill to Action. I'm sure when Dan comes on, it'll absolutely crush my numbers. So I'll enjoy that for now. Mara says, I love the chemistry you two have together. Do you guys have any plans to work on a show together? We can call it The Founding Fathers. Dan?
Not currently in the sense of like there's nothing pending, but it would certainly be an interesting idea.
I would love the idea of working with Dan on a show for sure. As we pointed out at the beginning, when someone asked us about our favorite traits, certainly two different approaches. Mine are more passionate. Dan's a more, calmer, more intelligent approach. But we've, as we've come together as teammates, we've taken pages out of each other's book, I think, and that's what kind of helped us become even stronger teammates. So Dan does have the passion. I have a calmly intelligent gear to me as well. So we can make it work. It would be fun. I would love to do a show with Dan. We'll see what the future holds for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see if we got one more here. Okay, here we go. Richard again says, I love Birdman and A Marriage Story. Any suggestions for other films that have a Broadway play put to film vibe? I'll throw Glengarry Glen Ross in there. Certainly. That's one that sorry, I'll put it back up. Yeah, that's one that leaps to mind because we just did top 10 plays that became movies, so that's a little fresher in my mind.
And you mentioned Rope with the Hitchcock stuff. That's very much like just sort of sitting in a theater and watching a play. Glengarry Glen Ross is one of my favorite movies, period. And it does feel very much rooted. I like movies that are come from plays and you kind of feel that being rooted in that experience. I think Glengarry Glen Ross changed it up just enough. Fences was one that I felt too much like the play. Like I felt like they could have maybe made it a little more cinematic. The performances were incredible, but it felt a bit static. So it's a very tough balance to strike. But Glengarry Glen Ross is one of my all-time favorite movies, and I think it got that balance just right in my mind.
Yeah, I would throw 12 Angry Men in there. I think that the classic 12, that definitely feels like a play when you watch it, but still cinematic enough that it feels very much takes advantage of it being a movie and the medium that it is in. Let's see here. I think Dan would write an excellent book. If either of you were to write one, what topics would you like to tackle? And this is a good question considering Ken wrote a Star Wars book. Jason Inman wrote the book about, military connections within superheroes. And certainly our friend Alicia Malone has written a couple of books herself. So have you thought about writing a book, Dan?
I mean, I thought about it, but it feels like running a marathon or climbing a mountain, which is like, it's an interesting idea to entertain, but the magnitude of that achievement is so intimidating that it's, and you can't do it halfway. You know, you can't, you don't want to train to do a marathon and do it halfway. You don't want to, you know, train to climb a mountain and do it halfway, because you can't. You can either go all the way or you don't. So I think that would be really interesting. As far as topics, I think I would be drawn a little more toward a collection of like essays, essays on different films, different topics, you know, but I don't know if I would have like a linear book or one that's necessarily around one common theme. Like Alicia's, both of Alicia's books are fantastic, but you know, Backwards and in Heels is very much centered around, you know, sort of the female influence on the movie industry. Like, I don't know necessarily if I've got enough for like under one theme like that, but you know, maybe a series of essays, I think potentially, but I got to figure out how to get, like, I can't even figure out how to juggle like a live stream and a Picard review right now and Discord. So as soon as I can figure out how to juggle all that, then, you know, maybe I can think about a book deal.
I've started to think about it more and more, because I mean, you know, sometimes with me, I'm like, who am I to be in this sphere or this punditry or whatever? Like, I still feel like I'm not, you know, like a little out of place half the time, and who really wants to hear what I have to say? But I've kind of started thinking about the idea of writing a book about Westerns, like legitimately exploring the history of Westerns through my point of view, and what it is about the Western genre that still feels so American and when it is done well, still kind of like moves so many people when they give those films a chance. And even the smaller Westerns, what is it about them that inspires those creators to make them? So there's a lot that I could explore that I would love to do it, you know, when I have time in between all the 300 shows I'm doing.
I'd buy it. I'd read it.
Oh, thank you, Dan. It's very kind. Ditto, man. Let's see here. Mike Cold says, Dan, you are the reason I started watching movie trivia Schmoedown after watching Screen Junkies and University and Movie Fights. Or Universe, is it? Is it Universe or University?
Screen Junkies Universe.
Okay,
SJU.
I would love to see you guys play Shazam for the belts. Do you have any preferred opponent?
Well, I played them once, just 2-on-1. Let's see. I mean, I guess they're assuming like after corruption. Like if we were to retain, or when we retain the belts, when we fight corruption, like who would we a preferred opponent? I mean, honestly, and you tell me I could see you going the other way on this, John, but just from a team perspective, then obviously my preferred opponent would be Who's the Boss, because then win or lose, it stays, we get the points and it stays in the faction. So I would, if we have to play anybody, I'd love to play the team that would not hurt our faction necessarily if we lost.
Yeah, I would relish the opportunity. Well, and first of all, we played Shazam already and beat them. So we won the belts. I mean, we defended the belts and beat them, but certainly they would be fun to play again and certainly challenge us. And I'm sure they'd want to come and challenge us in ways that we haven't challenged before. But I would love to play Who's the Boss. Absolutely. Because I'd love to see how good we can be against Ben and Riley, to be honest with their, you know, they've been crowing about their study techniques. I don't mean crowing in a negative way. I mean, they've been talking on numerous shows about their study techniques and how they've kind of honed it together. And I've seen them study together. So it would be a great challenge to take on Ben at this stage in his career, and Riley kind of reborn under this team umbrella with Ben, the way I was reborn under this team umbrella with Dan. So I think that would be fun. And it would be a knockdown, drag out fight, but at the end, the Finstock Exchange keeps the belts in house, so that's not a negative overall. And it would be a great challenge for us, for sure, to see what we could do against them. That's damn true. Let's see here. Do you own Rooster, or does fandom/SJU own Rooster? Can you answer that one?
Rooster is Rooster McFeely Williams. He's the knife salesman.
Yep.
That Rooster belongs to fandom. So Rooster and Scoops stay with fandom, but that's not to say that they couldn't appear on a fandom owned channel again. Right. But they cannot. I believe they have signed non-binding contracts to lend their services to fandom exclusively.
So yeah, and let's clear that up. You have left Screen Junkies full time, but you're still part time there, right? You still will do occasional things there, or is it just on call?
Yeah, I wouldn't say part time necessarily. Okay. I would say there are a couple of special projects with Honest Trailers, some bigger projects that I'm going to take on that are sort of longer leads, where I'm sort of doing stuff for a couple months over here in a satellite capacity, and then we write and produce the actual trailer together. And then, I told him I'm always also around to, pitch in and send in ideas for honest trailers. I'm going to try to continue to sort of keep up with that and just email them jokes and whatnot. So yeah, it's not really part-time. It's more sort of spot work.
Gotcha.
Here and there.
Gotcha. Do you want to get a tissue to blow your nose?
You know what it is I just realized I did not take my allergy medication today. Okay. And this chair is now the cat's favorite sleeping spot. So I realized that now I've got pet dander all over. So yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to take my allergy pill and just grab a Kleenex if that's cool. Okay. And then I'll be right back.
Do it. We'll be right back.
Go
ahead, Dan.
Thank you. I'm wearing track pants, so I'm going to try to get up so you don't see.
Everyone's wearing track pants. All right, let's take Dan down. I'll wait till he comes back. But in the meantime, let's bring up Wiley. How are things going, Wiley? How's it going in there? Stop singing. What's wrong with you? Pay attention.
It's a great show, Rocha. You're killing the game, man. You're killing it. And look at these views right now. We have 358 views. Come on. Let's give everyone a hands up.
Yeah, pretty much. But guys, let's get over 300. We only have 266 likes. Let's get us over 300 likes and keep sending in your Streamlabs and your super chats. Definitely going to answer a bunch of those when Dan comes back from there. But please get those likes above 300. Swing that cursor over there. Hit that like button on this video. It helps to see how it helps the YouTube algorithm of how big this show is. So please do that. Let's bring in Drunken Prayer, Sean, and what's up, Calvin? How you doing, man? Are you guys waiting to talk to Dan?
Hey, man, what's going on, bro?
Yep.
All Patreons, by the way.
All patrons, yeah, which I appreciate. As soon as he comes back, after he takes his medication, we'll jump on and have you guys be the first people asking him questions and whatever, and we'll see how long he can stick around. If he can stick around at 7:15 or 7:20, I've got a show at 7:30 with the Cinefanatics guys, but I can stick around until 7:20. So hopefully Dan can as well. I just want to make sure you guys know that you are in the queue, and I'm definitely going to bring you guys up to ask questions. Cool. All right. Yeah, that's right. Well said. I love it. All right. Well, let's see here. What do we got? Let's see.
By the way, sorry, Rocha.
Says I'll be around from Dark Faith 66. Thank you, Dark Faith. Yeah.
Sorry, but we have a new Patreon. Thank you very much, Soda the Sax Man. Thank you very much for joining the Patreon.
Thanks,
you got that 20 minutes to join the stream. Guys, join this Patreon. Rocha's killing it, and he's adding new things each week. It's always on his mind. It's growing. It's growing. You got to join it. The Discord's growing. Everyone's in there. We're becoming friends. I know Drunken Prayer. I never heard of this dude, and now I'm friends with him. I'm friends with
it works.
These conversations, if you join now, because they're so small, you really get to know the people and you grow new friends and stuff. So it's been pretty amazing. So definitely join it. And thank you to Jake Yakavetta for killing the game right now.
Thank you, Jake. So you're so kind. All right, Wiley, I'll bring you out. Dan's back. So I'm going to bring Dan back up in here. Thank you, Wiley, for everything you're doing here.
Hello.
All right.
I was sitting here wondering why I was sneezing so much, and I realized I'm like, well, let's see, the cat sleeps here, and I'm so off my routines. Like I'm used to, I get up in the morning, I take my allergy pills, I take, get in the shower, go to work, and now it's just like whatever. Everything's out of order. So
I know it's weird. Today was
so weird.
My girlfriend went back to work today for a few days. I'm kind of using her like in this way, and it was strange. Like usually we have a regimented system because she's building up her photography business from the living room. She's got her office set up there, and I'm in the office here. So we touch base with each other throughout the day to keep each other like on a schedule. She made me create a production schedule because she saw that I was like floating around and doing stuff instead of having a more regimented approach. So I get it, dude. Trust me on that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a cat stepdad. So Mara has two wonderful cats, but the price is I got to remember to take that allergy pill every day. And sometimes I fail, and you could see and hear the results of that. So I should be better going forward.
All right, fair enough. All right, let's run through these Streamlabs real quick, and then I'm going to bring people in live to ask us some questions. People have been waiting for like over an hour, Dan, to jump in. So they're really excited. George Safikas, I hope I'm saying that right. He says, you guys all doing your own networks is very similar to the breakdown of cable to the standalone streaming networks. Could you all get together and form a collider-like network, unite the seven, or would that be counterproductive? I would say to you that that's not something I don't think any of us have an interest in, because we're kind of the reason we're all doing our own networks is we've wanted to kind of do our own content, and we've kind of wanted to create our own stuff. So I think for now we're just kind of spreading our wings. It doesn't mean we can't be on each other's networks maybe down the road, but certainly that's not something that I think we're all leaning towards just yet.
Well, I think what you encounter is when you combine forces is that if you all want to work together, meaning in one space, then you need an office space,
right?
And then you need, and so the overhead, like above and beyond what it takes to work, then the overhead becomes an issue.
Yes.
And I've just had a drink delivery. Oh, thank you, my love. I just had a cherry Diet Coke from my Wonder. I was just talking about our cats. I forgot to take my allergy pill, and I was sneezing up a storm here. So.
Have they made an appearance?
No, the cats didn't make an appearance. So. I'm talking to Mara. I'm sure this is fascinating as I talk to Mara off camera. She's scurried away. But,
all right.
But when you form an organization, then there's office space, and then there's studio space, and then if you're a certain number of people, then you need accounting, and then you need HR, and then you need it, and then I think that's what is so difficult to keep these media. Companies in such good condition is that, I think to do programming like this individually, it can be sustainable to support yourself, but the margins are so small that if you add infrastructure and overhead to it, then it becomes a much more difficult proposition.
Let me tell you, from my former outlet, you don't need an HR apparently to run an outlet. So let me just throw that out there.
Well, let me tell you from one of mine, yes, you do.
Soulstar 1999 says, if you were to suggest a few accessible classic movies, Jen, what would they be?
Thank you, Muffin.
Cool Hand Luke and 12 Angry Men gave this ignorant ass a look through the window of the past. I love your work, guys. Are there any accessible older movies that you would recommend?
I mean, here's the thing that I think this is a fascinating thing is I now choke on the drink. I think that great movies are one of the things that makes them great is they're always accessible.
Yeah.
So Casablanca, for example, I think is as accessible today as it was 80 years ago or 90. Wait. 70. I don't do math. Anyway, many years ago when it came out. Same with Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah,
I think that it's. I think that it is just as accessible today as it was when it came out. So I think that's one of the things. And when we talk about one of the things that I want to get across in my channel, I think that's one of the myths that I want to dispel is that classic movies are inaccessible because they're in black and white, or because they're long, or because they're short, or because they don't star a name that you know. Great art is always relevant. And so that's one thing that I look forward to doing is featuring movies that I think are classic that might be overlooked because they're old or they don't seem like they're relevant. Great movies are always relevant and always accessible.
I like this comment. This is slowly turning into a horror movie where a cat is taking down Dan.
They're doing their best. No, it's all on me. It's all my forgetfulness. It's a Greek tragedy. It's my fatal flaw.
That's right. Greek tragedy. I love it. I would say that. I would say Something Like It Hot is accessible as it's ever been. The Apartment as accessible as it's ever been. Sunset Boulevard it's definitely as accessible as it's ever been. So you look at those films, you go back to those times. Certainly, if you're a big fan of epics, Ben-Hur, Bridge on the River Kwai, those are just as accessible. If you love long epic movies that are grandiose in the approach and execution and the cinematography, those are as accessible as they ever were. And even Seventh Seal, which we recently covered on the Cinephiles, a Swedish foreign film, still as accessible as it ever was, and still topical. George Savika says, P.S. I thought I heard you say Dan was at 19,000 subs. It's telling me he's over 20,000 now.
Wow.
Boom. Congratulations, Dan.
I saw, I'm a numbers nerd, so of course I'm always looking at the analytics, and the video today kind of took a little dip up. So I don't know if somebody linked it or somebody found it, but it sort of got an uptick. So it's been a wild ride, but I never thought I would be there at this point. So when we talk about humbling and everything else, that's it's crazy to me to think that we'd be at 20K on the second day after launch. So
smart,
really amazing.
I remember when you tweeted out 3K over the weekend, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good start. That's a good start." Boom, 20K. Holy shit. D-Train, hi guys. So Rocha, can you explain why you like Hobbit movies instead of the Lord of the Rings movies? You mainly said the Hobbit movies are better because it has more dwarfs than hobbits. The hobbits and Lord of the Rings are the real heroes. Aragorn, did you say bow to no one? look, this is, I'll answer it real quickly. The hobbits annoy me because they just seem like whiny little kids. The dwarfs are more my style because I'm a passionate, at times, bull in a china shop type of guy. And I like those dwarves because they're that way as well, while still also being noble and heroic and trying to do the right thing, and also being discounted and overlooked because of their size. So I gravitate to the underdogs in that way. I just feel like the hobbits aren't really my cup of tea. No offense to anybody who likes the Lord of the Rings movies. I'll just say that.
I feel about the Hobbit movies like you feel about Tombstone.
Oh, fair. There you go. There you go. Raven says, "What's up, greatest of all times or goats?" My question for you, gents, is which horror character, monster / killer, in your opinion, was developed the best? Backstory, name, looks, etc. Big fan and expect a new patron for you both soon. 5s up. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
What do you say, Dan? Do you have is there a horror character that's been developed the best in your mind?
I mean, I think that the more they developed Michael Myers, the less scary he became. So I wouldn't say Michael Myers. He was at his best when he was like this like force of nature.
Yeah.
I think I always loved the initial setup for Freddy because he had this idea of like not only the initial setup for him, which was that like he's this mob justice took down this monster who still haunts them for revenge from the grave. Like that's a great setup. But then even as they went darker, it's just like he was the spawn of 1,000 crazy madmen and an insane. It's like whoa, like that's like metal. Like that's like I mean, obviously it got a little sillier as it went, but I always liked that the more they developed Freddy, he got a little more interesting instead of less interesting. And I feel like that's sort of what happens to horror villains over time because you have to kill them.
Yeah.
Generally at the end of the movie. So you have to invent ways for why they come back, which means you have to invent all of this extra layer of stuff. And they didn't really like to do that with Freddy. They just had to bring him back from the dead a certain number of ways. He was always supernatural. Yeah. And I liked the way that they developed him in like, particularly like the second, third, fourth movie.
Yeah. I think that's my choice as well. I wasn't the biggest fan of slasher films. So so Jason was never my thing. I did enjoy Michael Myers because that first Halloween film is like, that's a classic. That's a legitimate classic in terms of direction and execution and look of the overall film. That is a classic film in my opinion. That kind of transcends the horror genre. But then you get into Freddy. Freddy is where it all starts to come together in a way that's so interesting and brilliant. And Freddie England's jokes. I mean, remember the 80s were the time for the non sequiturs and the puns and the funny little jokes. Schwarzenegger and Stallone built careers in the 80s doing that stuff. Van Damme, Seagal. And then you had a horror movie character like Freddy who was doing it, which added to the terror because he was such a confident killer that he could make those jokes and not think it was going to come back and bite him. In the numerous ways he was able to mess with you were just brilliant. And I just recently watched Freddy versus Jason again, just randomly a few weeks ago on some late night channel. And I just enjoy the living hell out of him being Freddy again. It was so
I like that movie.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I mean, it's not perfect. It's not like a great movie, but I really like particularly the setup. I love the setup of the idea that, we live in a world where Freddy Krueger's not scary anymore, so he has to figure out a way to give people nightmares. Like I think that's a really cool setup for that film. And there's I like a lot of the set pieces. I like when he brings Jason into the factory. He's like on Freddy's turf. I love that cornfield scene with the flames and everything. There's a lot to like about Freddy versus. Yes, there's some stuff that doesn't hold up, but overall, I like Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah, I think so too. And I always thought Monica Keena was going to go on and do more and didn't quite get to the levels you were hoping that she might. Real quick, let's see. Jake Yakavetta says, Dan, have you changed your custom YouTube URL or is it still /NoelDan540? You should be able to update it. Someone else has Dan Murrell already, though. Also, sorry if it's been answered, but will you be doing live streams?
Well, as far as the URL, my custom URL is Dan Murrell Movies, because for that exact reason, someone has youtube.com/Dan Murrell. The NoelDan540 is my, it's like the username, like youtube.com/users, because that's like signed up for that like 15 years ago. Right. And that was just whatever. I never thought I would have a channel. I didn't even know that was public. That was like right after YouTube launched. But yeah, so my URL, I did change it. That's why it's youtube.com/Dan Murrell Movies, because I can't get Dan Murrell. So yes, they did change that. And live streaming. That's a good question. I'm going to be doing one tomorrow. I'm doing a Q&A live stream tomorrow, probably afternoon, evening. I'm going to figure out to make sure I can figure out Streamlabs and stuff first before I announce the time, in case I have to, say like, we're going to move it to Thursday. But I don't know how much live streaming is going to be a part of the channel itself. I do know that is, a key component to a lot of things, but I mean, there's some things I'm working on that I can't talk about that might involve that. I'm also doing some live stream stuff with Patreon every month, and I want to make sure that for people that are on that tier, that they don't feel like that's being devalued by me going live, all the time. That kind of remains a special. And also, I want to kind of have my channel be, I'll cover stuff that's big as it happens, but I think the programming wise, at least to start off with, is going to be a lot more edited videos, a lot more stuff that I pre-tape, and then, have that I can cut down and redo some stuff if I want to. Here comes the cat again, and do all kinds of stuff. Muffin, what are you just right? Perfect, right there. That's great. So that's an excellent question. Okay.
We'll see down the road. We'll see
down the road. But initially, it's not going to be a big part of the channel.
Gotcha.
The cat's paw is stuck on the computer. Here we go.
Jake Yakavetta also follows up. Is everything all right? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Oh, it's a horror show over here. I'm spilling stuff. It is a nightmare. So I'm learning what it's like to work from home.
Here's a positive. You have you're 2 away from 400 patrons. Pretty awesome craziness for you, man. That's great stuff.
Extreme craziness. I need a paper towel.
I love it.
I really need a paper towel. Hang on, I'm going to mute my mic so I can yell for a paper towel.
All right. Jake Yakavetta said there's a super chat for Mukbang Reviews that was missed. Do either of you have a favorite Prince song? If not, it's okay. Mine is "You Got the Look," R.I.P. His Royal Badness. Thank you, Mukbang. That is tough, to be honest with you, because I mean, "Let's Go Crazy" is still so damn good. But I'm quietly a big fan of Pink Cashmere. I kind of like it as an underground Prince song. And I recently bought the double albums because I have a record player that I bought 6 months ago. They had the double album that his original versions of the songs he sold to other people, like Manic Monday and what's the Love Thy Will Be Done, and a couple others, or a bunch of others that he sold to other people. He even covered Gigolos Get Lonely Too from Morris Day and the Time. All of that is on those Prince double albums. $13 on Amazon. I was blown away. Do you have a favorite Prince song, Dan?
Do I have a favorite Prince song? I'm more like a hits. I'm more like a hits guy.
Yeah.
Like the hits, but I like 1999. Obviously, I lived through 1999, so I remember that being played at every New Year's Eve for like 5 years running.
Yeah.
Particularly on both the New Year's Eve of 1998 and New Year's Eve 1999. That song was played a lot. Thank you, Leno.
Last Streamlabs for now. We'll jump into some live questions from you all who've been waiting.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Ed Haskell says Dan Murrell's book, Charting Box Office History: The Rise and Fall of Box Office Dollars, Marketing, and Cinema. Apparently he's giving you a title.
I love it.
It's a great title.
It's a great title.
Box office history, good and great films with bad marketing, and box office, for example, Edge of Tomorrow, bad films with great marketing. Trailers, awesome. Movie sucked. That kind of stuff. So, yeah, could be interesting, I suppose.
I love that idea. That's a great idea.
I agree. We've got 338 of you all in here. Thank you so much. Got 316 likes. Let's get up there. Let's get up there to 320, 340, 350 likes. That will be great before we wrap this thing up. Let's jump into our first live question. That is Drunken Prayer. He is coming to us from the UK. What are you in Scotland? Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. What's your question for Dan and I? Well, welcome.
Thank you, Raj. Dan, I can't remember if you answered this already, but I was kind of wondering, what was the hardest honest trailer to work on? Whether it's the amount of work put in or the actual writing process?
That's a great one. As far as the amount of work put in, it was Doctor Who, because that was due to charity, and it was specified that we had to do all of it. So I think that by the end of it, we put in like probably 50 times as much work as far as hours spent on those two trailers than we did any other trailers. As far as difficulty writing,
Awesome.
I mean, we said this before, but Captain America: The Winter Soldier was one of the first ones where it was in 2014, and we had sort of gotten to the point where we were expected to do all the big movies and not just ones that were deserved an honest trailer, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. That was one of the first times that I remember, just being in the writers' room and all of us just kind of being like, what do we say? And that's the trailer where we just sort of say like, yeah, it's really good. I don't know. What do you want us to do? So I remember trying to figure out that formula of like, what do we do with a good movie? Like a new good movie that doesn't even have like stuff that we can pull in from other movies to do. That was a challenge to figure out how to crack that.
Yeah. Well, there you go. All right. Good question, brother. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you waiting around.
No, I just want to say, everyone, by the way, just to follow up. Yeah. As Wiley was saying, check out the Patreon. It really is a great community John's got going on over there.
Yeah.
So I'll plug that for you.
Yeah, sure, I appreciate it, dude.
I watch the rest of the stream from bed because I'm about to fall asleep.
It's late. Yeah, the time for sleep.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. The Patreon community we're building over on the Outlaw Nation. It's once again, it's small but mighty. A lot of people involved and really enjoying getting in touch with them, doing more. I, like Dan, am still figuring this whole Patreon thing out and kind of figuring out what shows to create. I'm looking at the Action Guys and what they're doing, creating specific shows. Riley creating specific shows just for the patrons. That's the thing that I'm kind of like figuring out. Hearing Dan talk about, he's already got the right approach to it. So I'm building that step by step. But if you know anything about me, I learn stuff quick and I jump into things quickly. So I will get there for sure. Sean Barrettell is our next guest. What's up, Sean? How you doing, brother? Another member of the Patreon.
What's up, brother?
I put the R at the end. I'm okay.
I know. We've gone over this. Honorary Yoka. How's it going, Dan?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually one of the people that subscribe while I've been waiting on this call.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Cool. You're welcome. So my question for you guys is especially for Dan, can you talk about the evolution of Dangerous Dan a little bit? When you first started doing the Schmoedown, what your approach was and kind of how it's evolved, like when you left and when you came back, and how it is now. Because I will tell you, the way your quote unquote character is now, the promos that you're cutting now are unbelievably mic dropping, and that's not something you were kind of doing before. So I'm just kind of wondering what the change was, and also your relationship with the Outlaw. How did it evolve from like the first time you met him through the Schmoedown, before your first match, and then when you guys became partner? How did that kind of evolve between those two questions?
Sure. I think as far as my character, as it were, and the evolution of that. I mean, it's been interesting because it has sort of evolved with the Schmoedown. Because if you go back to the beginning, like I sort of played, and I think Christian must have come up with Dangerous Dan because I didn't. I think he must have said like, "Oh, Dangerous Dan." I'm like, great, that works for me. But like, I sort of played into the fact of like almost the theater of the absurd of like playing this like intimidating guy, but it's movie trivia. So, I came out in sunglasses and I sort of had this persona of like, I'm a tough guy, but it was sort of set against the backdrop of like, now I'm going to sit down and answer nerdy movie trivia questions. But as the show turned more into character, a lot more character driven stuff, then the whole thing about wearing the sunglasses mean you're a heel. And I definitely wasn't that. So this idea of like wearing the sunglasses is sort of like this commentary went away. And it became much more about having the resume that I did at that time, particularly after my comeback, is like playing into almost the mystique of it so that I don't necessarily have to do a whole lot. It's more of like just the buildup of like, oh, Dan's played and he's done this and, running through the record and stuff. And it's played off of that. As far as promos go, I mean, I got to give Rocha a lot of credit for that. I learned from the best, but you kind of have to because I don't have a character per se. Really, not like a lot of other people do. So if I want to do anything memorable, really the only tool that I have at my disposal is to say or do something interesting. I don't have a fur thing on my shoulder that I can pet and talk to, and I don't have that. So it's literally just like I got to come up with something clever to say, or else it'll just be me standing there like a yokel. So that is really just sort of sitting there, and I've said it before, like I always talk last because I'm just sitting there in my head going like, all right, what do do I say? They're going to ask me something to say. What do I say? If I'm with John, I just let him talk. I don't have to say. And then, yeah, I mean, John, I'm sure we could both talk about it. I mean, did we meet through movie fights or Screen Junkies show? Is that how we met each other initially?
Yeah, movie fights was the first time we met because I just kind of walked into the sphere in 2015, I think it was. And I remember the morning of, I was, in my old apartment, and Christian woke me up with a call, and he's like, hey, this person can't show up. I think it was Tiffany or somebody who couldn't show up to movie fights. So they were like, can you sub in? I talked to the guy for you. Will you go? And I was like, hell yeah, it's a big channel. I'm still building my brand. Yes. And it was like 10 minutes away from where I was living at the time. So I just showered, jumped in the car, drove over there. And that's where I met Dan and everybody in the Screen Junkies. Ken Knapsack, I had known a little bit, but I got to know him a little bit more there. Jason Inman. But Dan was the one sitting there on the couch doing checking the facts and things of that nature. So that was the first time I did meet Dan. He was incredibly nice. I remember everyone was very, very nice. And I think Chris Whitehead was there that day as well, if I remember, visiting from Arizona. I think. And so that was where I met Dan. But then, as the Schmoedown went on, and Dan and I, the thing is, Dan had the belt and I was coming after him, but Dan and I always had respect for each other when we did the promos and when we did the back and forths. And if you watch the old footage, you'll catch me just yelling at Dan, and Dan is just kind of just nodding his head and he's just waiting to talk. And honestly, I couldn't have done what I did if Dan wasn't creating the space to let me do what I did. So I always appreciated him because he didn't have to. He was Dan Murrell. He was the champ,
Well, and it's also was a very different time where the hype around a match was literally like maybe one post interview after you played.
Yeah.
And then the pre-interview before you played the championship match. And then they would break in posters and stuff. But it wasn't this thing that it is now, just like a constant stream of keeping storylines alive and a bunch of different shows that were devoted to the Schmoedown, and this idea that like building up a match involves like all of this back and forth and building these things. Like it was literally just very self-contained, so that when John and I are playing each other, like I know I'm playing John, I know that he's going to say something before the match, and then we're going to do a little thing, and then we're going to play the game. Like it was very self-contained, and now it is just like this whole universe of things to keep alive. So that is also a very different thing as far as building up a match and a relationship. But like I still love watching that moment when John wins the belt, because like that's just a human moment. That's just a great human moment. And so it's always like we were rivals in the sense that we often were in each other's way for belts and stuff. But there wasn't that deep like canyon of storyline that exists now. It's very much sort of like promo rivals, and then we just play.
It's funny, that moment I rarely watch over again. I know when people put it up, it's always sweet. I'm always humbled by it because this may shock some people, but I don't actually like to have the spotlight on me all the time. And when people compliment me or say things are cool, I just kind of humbly go, thank you, and move on from it. The moment I remember is just the greatest shit talk moment. And no one will ever beat it, is when I said to Dan, you've been holding, I said something like, I'm going to take that belt from you. Have you enjoyed holding it? I'm going to take it. And you're like, yeah, good. I need it cleaned. And it was so perfect. It was so perfect.
It was.
And I couldn't even come back because I was like, oh, that's good. That's good.
I think he said something like, I'm taking that belt, Murrell. And I said like, oh, what are you going to do? Polish it and give it back to me? Something like that. Yeah. But that was trash talk.
It was great trash talk.
In the day, like that was it. Like that was the trash talk that you did. Like now that's just
that's the small potatoes.
That's nothing.
I always also like the fact that you point to Outlaw when you know like you're about Christian's about to say he won, and then John's look of like, oh my god, I just won. Like that little point, like it just kind of like, I love that point even before John's initial reaction. But also, Dan, if you're going to be doing a box office show, this is one of the ways you can just get me to be a patron. If you look at box office in a sense where if you break down like two similar movies and why one movie kind of made more box office than the other, and then also analyze the franchises of like, why did let's say Iron Man 1 make this money? Why did Iron Man 2 make that money? Why did Iron Man 3 make this money? And kind of break it down that way. If you do something similar like that, you got my money. Because I love going on Box Office Mojo. It's like one of my favorite websites, and especially when movies were coming in and out. I would always just jump in there to see where like my favorite movie ranked upon. Like when the Avengers was going up, I'm like, oh, when is it gonna beat Avatar? Where is it now? So if you can do something similar to like that, you got my money.
There you go.
No, I appreciate that, and that's the goal, I think, and that's what I really have to crack is for charts to continue to produce, and I want to eventually get it up to weekly before the box office comes back. But it's exactly what you're talking about. Is I really have to sit down and figure out, okay, straight up analysis doesn't work. What are these connections that I can draw? And it's exactly the kind of stuff that you're talking about. Is like, okay, let's break it down by franchise and different movies and time of the year and all of these other factors, because that's ultimately going to be what's going to keep it going. So that is very high on my list of stuff to formulas to crack, is like, what can that weekly version of charts be where we can make those kinds of comparisons.
Awesome. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the questions, brother. Always good to see you, my man.
Have a good one.
All right, let's move on to our next one. That's level 2 trading. Level, do you not want to put your face on screen? You just want to ask your question?
Hey guys, no, I'm from Trinidad.
Okay.
There's a small island in the Caribbean, so you're reaching far and wide in the world. Just 2 questions. Dan, would you ever do a drunk movie fight against Ken? One.
Drunk movie fights against Ken was so much fun. So yes, I mean, just having any drunken conversation with Ken is a blast. But that, you know, I mean, I don't know if we can make it happen on movie fights proper, but that Thor or that Brad Pitt moment, and then me trying to guess Chris Hemsworth's age was a classic, and I had so much fun. So. I could definitely agree to getting sloshed with Ken and just yelling about things, because that's just a good time.
Yeah, probably one of the greatest video I ever saw in my life is seeing you and Ken go at it. Think that is the only way you probably might lose ever in movie fights. Secondly, a proposal for Rocha.
Oh, yeah.
Angry movie fight against Riley.
Yeah.
Because when 2 of you guys get pissed off, I like the rants. The rants are amazing.
Well, here's the deal. I think if Riley and I bet on a movie fights now, I might actually have a shot. In the past, I feel I've been unfairly losing some of those movie fight matches where I felt I had done a good job with some of my points and should have gotten the points in certain ways. So maybe I'd have a better shot now. But yes, when Riley and I get together and the passion gets going between us, honestly, it's one of the greatest train rides I'll ever be on, because I never know when it's going to stop. And I love the unknowing nature of it when Riley and I get going. And so we'd probably be going at each other the whole time. His Irish temper, my Latino passion and anger. It just would make for a fun conversation and fun battle for sure down the road, I'm sure.
Yeah, and just for information, you did win Schmoedown. You did win.
Thank you. I did win. I beat Bips. I don't care what he says. I beat Bips.
And on a serious note, would you ever do a movie fight against your former employer in a Star Wars movie fight? That's a low blow, and I'll take my exit right there.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, level 2. Appreciate it, man. Take care of yourself.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right, we're gonna bring in Josh. We're gonna bring Josh. Josh, what are you doing? What's up? What's up there, man? How's it going?
Hey guys, sorry. Good night. Good mate. Sorry, I had to take the dog for a walk.
Are you in the past? Where are you?
In Sydney, mate. It's not
beautiful.
quite locked down yet, but yeah, it's getting there, mate. First of all, Dan, just congratulations. Jumped in on the ground floor on Patreon, and yeah, the community there, it's just going great so far, and it's great to see all the support that they have for you.
Thank you. Yeah, the community has been amazing.
It's just all around the world. Yeah, no, awesome. Firstly, I just wanted to ask, mate, your reviews and just your critical analysis of all the movies, I think that's what drew a lot of us as fans in. And I just wanted to ask, what kind of process do you have behind that when you sit down for a movie? Do you, I guess, watch it through once and then rewatch it, or do you go through it multiple times taking notes? So I just wanted to, I guess, get some insight into how you do it. You don't have to give away. Wanted to see how you do it.
No, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of times the thing with now embargoes and stuff, and it used to be embargo, the press would see or critics would see a movie a week or 2 weeks before they came out, and then sit down and write a review, and then you'd file the story. And the embargo may be after you saw the movie, but you'd have time to sit with the movie. Now the way that it works is sometimes, like I remember with Rise of Skywalker, most people saw it, at least a lot of the press saw it, in the morning, and had to rush to hit the embargo. You had to rush to the studio and shoot a review and get it out to hit the embargo time. And hitting embargo is important, especially on YouTube, because you're there first. You have a better shot at getting the views that you need, and kind of being part of that early discussion. But I don't like that, because it doesn't give you any time to sit with a movie and think about it and ponder it. It's literally just your first instinct, which isn't always your best instinct. If I'm able to, I like to be able to see a movie with enough time to process it, to think about it, to kind of go over it in my mind and say, like, oh, did this really make sense? Or am I sort of, am I going too far negative or positive because of one element of the movie? I like to have a wider look at it. And so that's my preferred method. I tried to take notes during movies for a while, but I found that I know a lot of people do. Roger Ebert, who's my favorite critic of all time, would take notes during movies, but I found that was a distraction for me. It actually, I like being very engaged in a film, and I don't like being taken out of that sense it feel, which is why I'm such that's why I'm such a stickler for like theater etiquette. Like, I hate being taken out of that, and I found that taking notes took me out of that mode. So I don't take notes. Really my process is I like to see it as far ahead of time as I can, so that I can really gather my thoughts. And also, because I don't take notes, so that I can sort of compile everything in my head and make sure that I'm remembering names, cast names, and people that I don't know, and that sort of thing. And then, my general philosophy too is, like, I know that there is sort of a consumer function to reviewing movies, as far as, go see it or don't go see it. But I also like to really try to bring, it's my perspective. It's not necessarily my job to tell you to go see a movie or not. It's for me to tell you what I think of it, and you make that decision. That's generally how I approach it.
Cool.
No, amazing. No, thanks for your time, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Josh. Enjoy the daytime. Yeah, Jesus, enjoy it, man.
Thanks, guys. Yeah.
That's nice. That must be nice. All right, let's bring in Brennan. He's been waiting as well. Brennan, what do you got, my man? What's the question?
Hey, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Dan. I've heard a lot about you.
I hope.
Yes, all good.
Brennan, what's wrong with you? Of course you heard a lot about Dan. What's your question?
Yep. I have a bit of a fan theory question.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
Do you think that Thanos waited to make his move until Odin was out of the picture?
Oh.
Because Odin might have been the only guy who could stop him.
That would explain why he spent like 5 years sitting in a chair in space. That could actually be the solution to one of the great qualms that people have with the MCU, which is what took Thanos so long to do it. Maybe, you know what? That could be it. You could be it. Solve the Marvel mystery right there.
Yeah.
I just always figured that if anyone could challenge Thanos, it's Odin.
Right.
I love that theory. I like that theory. That's a good theory.
It's a great theory, especially when you factor in the events of Ragnarok, when Hela shows him how much of a brutal warrior Odin really was. Yeah, so exactly. You would imagine he wouldn't fall for the same tricks that Thor did, because he's an older warrior. He would know exactly how to handle Thanos, who's a younger warrior in his approach. So it'd be a more even match. So maybe he did wait till, I mean, Odin wasn't that active in the movies, right? He'd kind of gone past his prime in terms of wars. He was a king more than anything else. So to have seen him in action against Thanos, maybe that is it. Maybe Thanos did. That's a brilliant idea.
I like that theory. That's a good.
I just gotta say, the thing that locked me in to the MCU when I still wasn't too sure about it was when they said Anthony Hopkins is Odin.
Yeah.
And I went, you got me.
No, that brings such a prestige and a legit quality to things.
Exactly.
They were so good at casting people, I think, right away, particularly in that first phase, that brought that feeling of legitimacy to it. So I agree, that was a great casting, because you hear Anthony Hopkins, you're like, oh, this is for real.
Yeah. And you get that whole Shakespeare bad.
He didn't eat any livers.
No, that's true. That's true.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Brendan.
Thank you. I'm on board. I co-sign that theory. I'm with you.
The founding fathers subscribe to that theory. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Brendan. Always good to see Brendan. He's so much fun. Let's bring in Calvin, the chillest guy I know. I always love his questions. They're always interesting. Calvin, what's going down, brother?
Oh, what's up, man?
What's up, man?
What's going on? We got the horse, man.
You know what's up.
When you came out, did that 5 when that unveiling, I lost my shit, man. I lost my shit that day. I was like, yes. I was like, oh my God. I already knew it. I already knew it. But yeah, man, it was great. But that one guy took my charting question. But so I can kind of turn into that. How do you think this is going to happen, man? How you going to do like a show talk about charting when ain't nobody going to be going? You know what I'm saying?
That's an excellent question. It's one that I've been trying to answer. Like I said before, it's about trying to find those connections and really digging a little bit deeper. But then, one thing that I'm kind of drawn to is this concept of sort of even taking a more historical thing and going back to a particular weekend or a particular year, kind of one spot in time, and doing a deep dive on just that one spot. And I think, today and yesterday actually is when I started thinking about it. I think I found a really fun way potentially to do that. So I think that's another way to fold in, is to like kind of find a weekend that even maybe the same weekend, but at a different year. I think I found a way that I think could be super fun and entertaining to do that. So that's another way that I'm looking at sort of structuring charting, is picking a specific weekend or a specific year and doing a really kind of period deep dive into that period, without giving away too much. But I think it could be a lot of fun. I still have to sort of develop it a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. What about you, Cal?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about it. I've heard you talk about it a little bit. I was just thinking about it. I just didn't know how it was going to go down, because actually, it could historically you could do it with when everybody starts going back. You can kind of see like this period of history and how it's going to affect everything, before and moving forward. But anyway, we know all about your movie thing. I have to know what's some of your favorite bands out there. I've never heard you. I don't think I've ever heard you talk about music.
Bands. I've never been. I'm a very basic music guy in the sense of, I know the songs that were popular when I was in high school and like growing up and in college, but I don't follow music that closely. So it's generally like whatever was popular from like the years 1995 to 2002 what I listened to, because I just don't keep up with music that much, and I wish that I did. I know I'm missing out on a lot of great stuff, but like I will still just jam like Third Eye Blind and the Marshall Mathers LP, and like just stuff that was on when I was in high school and early college years. Like that's generally the stuff I gravitate toward. But every once in a while I hear a song that I like and I'm like, oh, maybe I should actually, listen to music. That would probably be a nice thing.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to do the same thing, man. I like all my old stuff. You know what I mean? I don't really listen to new stuff. I don't like any of it, basically. I have to admit, guilty pleasure of mine is Katy Perry, though. I don't know why that is.
She's positive energy. Positive energy.
I enjoy Taylor Swift.
And the Prince.
I do.
Well, there you go. That was the one. But the Prince thing, Raspberry Beret. That's the song. That's a great song. Everybody else says.
Yeah. That's a great one.
But yeah, Dan, I've been watching you, man. You're the reason why I got stuck on Screen Junkies, man. When this is like maybe like 2014, 13, something like that. Anyway, when I seen you do a movie fight, I was watching the movie fights because I think like Christian was on it, or somebody else from one of Schmo, somebody from Schmo. And I was like, this Dan guy knows his shit, man. And then I started watching the SJU, and then, and I was just like, hell yeah. Because you look at things logically, you know what I mean? And you just, everybody else does, but I just like the way you handle it.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I give all the credit to my high school debate teacher, because a lot of the way that I look at things, and especially on movie fights, is so informed by how taking debate, and it was only just a year, but taking debate taught me to look at an issue, and you have to look at it from both sides just by definition in debate, because you don't know a lot of times which side of the issue you're going to be debating. So I give a lot of credit to that background.
There you go.
Well, I'm gonna miss you, man. I'm gonna miss you. I mean, I'm still gonna get you, but I'm gonna miss your interaction with the crew. You know what I mean?
I will too. That's the hardest part is, and I've emailed a couple of them this week just about a couple other things, and I start every one of them off with like, I miss you guys, because I do, because we, especially in that writer's room, Spencer, Joe, and I spent 5 years in a room together every day. And then, we had people like Lon and Danielle that came in successive years, but like the three of us shared an office for about 5 years. And so you spend almost every day, at least every work day, several hours a day with these guys for 5 years. I mean, you see them more almost than anyone else in your life. So I miss those guys terribly. I'm really happy that we were able to structure it in a way that we're still all very supportive of each other. And that was very important to me that it not be a bad deal. And so I miss those guys. I can't wait to see them. And I'm excited to keep working with them when and where I can, because they have that whole team there is awesome. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do.
That's awesome.
Well,
thanks, Calvin.
And one last thing.
All right.
When you go get Matt notes?
Well, he's coming. He was on Game Time yesterday, man. Take it slow.
I'm talking about the nation.
Come on, Nation. Don't sweat it. He'll come on the Nation. It takes time. All right, brother. Great seeing you, Calvin. Take care, man. Everybody want that nose. Dan,
can you do a show with Calvin?
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Can you stick around a little bit longer? Like 7 10?
Stick around for a bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's finish out everything. You got Christopher Spencer waiting for us. What's up, Christopher? He wrote this great article. Yeah, he wrote a good article on Master Manhunter, right? Yeah.
Yes, I did. That was. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah. Look great.
Fantastic. Good. I was a little
He's
worried
an
about
old
that.
school Screen Junkies fan. I know Chris.
That's right. I have the old mug.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I can't wash in the dishwasher anymore because it's starting to fade away the label.
Oh,
yeah. So that just sits on my desk. Hi, I just wanted to come in because I had a very quick question. I was reading Empire Magazine. There's a story that they were running, which was about the Jaws stage play.
Oh,
okay. What? Yeah. I was hoping that Dan wouldn't know about this. So Robert Shaw's son, what is his name? Oh, God.
Quentin.
What is his name? Well, yeah, Robert Shaw's son is doing a stage play in the UK, and it's called The Shark Is Broken, which is about his father's alcoholism. My question really was, have you heard about this? But obviously you haven't.
I'm not, but I like that idea. I mean, it's the making of Jaws is such a fascinating story from a lot of different angles, but Robert Shaw's role in it, which was like essentially he would go, with the crew every night and Spielberg and the cast and just get blind drunk. But at the same time, they would all rewrite these scenes into what they became, which are some of the greatest scenes in the history of film. And especially his he did a pass and put on that Indianapolis speech. Yeah. So, Robert Shaw, I think, is one of those actors that is, I mean, not just in Jaws, but if you look at The Sting and even going back to just his work as the Heavy and From Russia with Love, he I feel like it's been very documented that he had some personal demons and stuff that he was fighting, and it's just sad that he was taken I think far too early, and he had so much great work that was left in him. But I'm sure that his son would have a very unique perspective on that, and probably some insights that even we don't have. So that sounds like a really fascinating project.
Yeah, he has actors play Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss, and a lot of it is about how Robert Shaw, like it's him. It's weird because it's him remembering his dad, and he said that he kind of came up with the idea because he looked in the mirror one day and thought, I look like my dad because I have the mustache, and like actually, if you can see, that's a picture of Robert Shaw of
Right.
Ian Shaw.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
Robert Shaw's son, and you could just see like
move it over a little bit because we're seeing Robert only.
Oh,
Move the other way,
other
the other
way.
way, the other way, the other way.
the other way.
Yeah,
A little bit
closer.
more.
Move it a little bit more.
Wait, what are you
the
talking?
other way? A little bit.
Jesse
There you go. Okay.
Oh, that's
Oh, that's Jesse Eisenberg.
yeah.
Because that's Ian Shaw. That's like
That's Ian
Oh,
Shaw.
that's Ian Shaw.
Holy
Oh, wow.
that's what I'm
shit.
saying.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
Ian
he does
Shaw,
look
and it's like
Holy shit.
the other actors not so much. I don't really see the guy who plays Richard Dreyfuss, but yeah, a lot of it is just about like how they were very different actors, and he actually, his family, Ian Shaw's family, gave him his dad's drinking diary, which that would be very, very interesting to read. But no, I just thought that was really interesting. As soon as I read that, I thought, wow, Dan would really like this, and I really hope they bring it away from just the UK.
Yeah.
I would love to. That sounds intensely fascinating. I hope if they're not able to bring it here, I hope that they document it in some way so that it could be available in some capacity in the future, because that sounds like a really interesting project.
I'm with Dan too, because Robert Shaw is an actor that's criminally overlooked. Man for All Seasons, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. So many great films that he just slides in and out of, but you can't help but feel what a great actor you're witnessing in every one of those movies and every one of those performances. And he comes from that time where a lot of those British actors were stumbling around blind drunk. Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole. I remember reading a story about how they would go get drunk in the pub during the intermission of plays that they were in, and then go and finish out the play drunk as hell on stage. So it's just crazy to think about those times. So, but unfortunately, the cost is we lose them a little earlier, except for Peter, of course.
I feel like you see also that, I think one of the reasons that you see so many people, great actors and great artists that struggle with things like that is that I think that to be great at that craft for most of them, it takes such an openness and an ability to feel very deeply and to sympathize and empathize with others' pain. I think that's why you see for so many people like Robert Shaw and even actors like Philip Seymour Hoffman and Heath Ledger, people that are brilliant actors, but I think to do that job as brilliantly as they do, for a lot of them, that means that they have to be able to connect to these deep wells of emotion that are difficult. They don't just turn off for everybody when the camera's off of them. And so I think that's the sad part. You see with a lot of comedians too. Robin Williams is that to channel that kind of energy, you have to be able to tap into this well inside of you that runs so deep and so passionately. I hate that is the price a lot of these artists have to pay for brilliance, because it's not fair. It's not fair to them.
It's true.
That's the price they pay for their craft. So I think Robert Shaw is one of those actors.
Absolutely.
And we were just watching because Foxtel in Australia, they've decided to put all the movies out for free, so you don't have a subscription, which is great. So we've just been watching a lot of stuff, and we were watching the end of Gladiator last night, and I thought, wow, this movie has two of those actors, Oliver Reed and Richard Harris, who are known as just being wild men in their youths. And hell, it killed Oliver Reed during the middle
during the movie.
During the movie,
it's amazing. But no, I just wanted to ask Dan about that. I'm very excited about the new channel. I think I said on Twitter that you leaving Screen Junkies felt like when Troy left Community, which is that it's not a bad thing, but it's because Donald Glover thought, I want to do something else, man. I just want to go off and focus on my own stuff. And there's no bad blood. He didn't hate any of the people involved. And it was really sad because it was just like, no, don't go onto that boat. No.
Well, I am excited to announce that I've been cast as Lando Calrissian in the next Star Wars movie.
Oh God,
it's very problematic. Listen, I don't know what I'm signing myself up for. But.
It might be a good. If Scarlett Johansson can do it, you can do it.
Yes, it's probably going to make some waves.
So to speak.
I'm excited to join your Patreon. The only problem is exchange rates. It's not fun.
I get it. It's totally cool, man. Any support you can give, whether it's on YouTube or Twitter, anything at all, I really appreciate it. And it's great to see you again, man. It's been a long time. You used to be very familiar face back in the SJ Plus days.
Yeah. I've been mostly talking to Mara about like, oh look, cat stuff. And just send pictures of my cat, and she sends pictures of her cats, and that's about it.
I give him props for having Wrath of Khan and Logan right behind him. Respect, Christopher. Thank you, man.
Yep. Those
Good
aren't
talking
going
to you.
down anytime soon. See you, man. See
Good
you guys.
talking
Good talking to you.
All right, well, real quick, let's wrap this thing up. We have one more person waiting, but I want to hit some of these Streamlabs and Super Chats before they run out. This one's from Richard Ganther. He says, speaking of horror shows, thoughts on House from 1986. Great horror comedy, but heavier on the horror. Also just jumped into Dan's Patreon. Can't wait for the monthly movie club. # bring on the charts.
Yeah.
Is that a show you've already announced? Like, are you announcing shows on your Patreon?
So the one of the things that I brought in for one of the tiers is I used to do this movie club every month when I had back in the Screen Junkies Plus days, and I only got to do it for I think 4 or 5 months. But basically, I would assign 3 movies at the beginning of the month, and then everyone would watch them. And at the end of the month, I would do a video where I would sort of break it down, and it's usually around a certain theme. One of them was Sidney Lumet. I think was one of it was all Sidney Lumet movies, and I wanted to bring it back for a really long time. And as I mentioned, just because of the general direction that things were going in, like there wasn't a whole lot of like. Again, that's a little smaller, and they're thinking bigger. So if over on Patreon at the director level, there is you get, and it's going to be a Patreon exclusive. Is the movie club is coming back?
Nice.
So next month, I think I'm going to try to announce everything on the first of the month, and do the recap show on the last day of the month. So. May 1st or very soon thereabout. It's April, right? Yeah, it's April. Yeah. So May 1st, I'm going to be announcing that first one. And there's a whole channel over on our Discord server on Patreon, if you're at that tier, where you can kind of tell me ideas and thoughts. And so that's going to be launching at the beginning of this next month. We're going to be picking movies to watch, and everyone's going to go out and watch them, and then we're going to come back and I'll talk about them. And it's a lot of fun because it's a way to number one, recommend classics.
Yeah.
Number two, recommend things that people might have overlooked, and then number three, you can throw in a Star Wars with something like a Kurosawa movie and something else, and sort of thematically put it around something like George Lucas themed thing, which could be a Kurosawa movie, and then Wings of Desire or something, or whatever, and then Star Wars or THX 1138. So I'm really excited to get that going back up again.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm developing a show called Criterion Corner, where I review one Criterion collection, like you, kind of assign it at the beginning, and then near the end of the month do a show about that movie, having watched all the special features and the commentaries on one Criterion collection, to kind of get people discovering the classics or foreign films, which is a big thing of mine as well. So a great idea, brother. That's such a smart idea and perfect for your brand. Mike Colton goes, does Dan any chance of doing a show with Mara? I think she would be great if she was comfortable doing something like that.
We've talked about a few different things, actually. She is a person of many talents.
Yes.
So running the gamut from, science, and she's an amazing baker, and she knows so much about things that I don't even have the first clue about, and she can do stuff like this behind me. So I think that's something that's going to come with the evolution of the channel, both on YouTube and then on Patreon. Is I'm sort of starting with the basics right now, and then as time goes on, that's what I like about having this sort of looser structure. Is if there's a demand, or if we come up with a great idea for a show that may not necessarily be about movies, but something that we think would be fun, we'd love to do that. So I'd say yes, there's definitely a chance, and we've already sort of thrown around a couple of ideas.
Great idea. Great stuff. I'm still trying to convince Lindley. We talked about doing a show called The Outlaws. We'll see what happens. She's just not a big fan of being on camera. Haskell says, thoughts on 1 year since Endgame and its early legacy. Any quick thoughts?
Is that true? Oh my God, it is. It's been about a year. I think it's the legacy, obviously, for now, until they re-release Avatar, being the highest grossing movie of all time. That's a hell of a legacy. I think that it's also going to have that legacy of at a time, particularly right now, where so many of these different sagas, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, when it got to the end, weren't necessarily, at least not for a large group of people, able to nail the landing, so to speak. I think it's going to have a legacy of being one of those things that actually did a very almost impossible thing to do, which is to sort of wrap up that story in a way that was satisfying, in a way that I think a very large majority of fans enjoyed, that was emotionally, for me, poignant, and felt like an actual real culmination of everything that came before it. So I think largely just the quality of that movie and what it was able to accomplish is going to be its legacy.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great comment about it for sure. Brandy Parker says, great show, guys. Can't wait to see what you both do next. Thank you, Brandy. That's very kind of you. I just want to make sure I got everybody here on the super chats, which we're about to wrap up here in the next few minutes. All right, Streamlabs, real quick, Dan. These are only $1 ones, so you don't have to answer too deeply. Which dinosaur would you like to see come back in Jurassic World 3? For me, it's the Dilophosaurus, which is the dinosaur who killed Wayne Knight in Jurassic Park from D-Train. What do you say?
Come back. So I'm assuming that means that we wouldn't have seen them otherwise. As I don't think the Triceratops have been given their full due.
All right, Triceratops.
So I'm going to say bring back a Triceratops.
All right, fair enough. I respect that. Schmo Junkies wants to know, does SJ watch the movie and analyze honest trailer movies together, or do you all watch it individually at home and then come back to the studio with notes? How is the writing process for that?
Usually it's all individually. Like sometimes we may be all sitting in the writer's room, but on our individual screens. But a lot of times the schedules differ. So yeah, it's mostly at least the first round. Everybody compares notes and they watch separately, and then the script takes form as everyone sort of gathers their notes. There's a couple that we watched together, but that actually hasn't happened in quite a while. It is mostly sort of start off by yourself, and then the group sort of starts to structure everything. And then Spencer, who's an amazing head writer, he takes all of these crazy different notes and is able to a lot of time to give them form and structure. Although sometimes somebody else will take a lead, but Spencer a lot of times will be the point person on that.
Respect. All right. And Christopher Moreno says, you can zone in on crazy anomaly / factors that led to a particular movie either tanking or crushing the box office. Much respect and good luck from San Antonio.
Thank you.
It's not a bad suggestion.
Don't mess with Texas.
Yeah, don't mess with Texas. All right, one last video, gentleman waiting for us. George Savikas, what's up, man?
Hey, gentlemen, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I had my cable guy out this morning to fix an internet issue. As you can see, it didn't really work out too well. But while he was here, I was watching TV, and the movie The Island was on.
Oh, okay.
So Mr. Michael Bay and Scarlett Johansson at her finest once upon a time. And I was thinking, is there any chance of maybe the two of you working together on some kind of a series where you look at fun films that were critically crap, and like what makes this a fun film versus why is this a poor piece of cinema? You know what I mean? Your Transformers could apply, Mr. Rocha, there, sir.
How dare you, sir? $4.5 billion. $4.5 billion for me.
Pay that much.
Fun movie.
We'll call it Armageddon. That's what we'll call it.
There you go.
I don't know. What do you think, Dan? That could be fun.
I think that, as far as what separates it for me, it's all about intent. A lot of times I think that a lot of quote unquote fun movies are misunderstood. I think that Michael Bay's, for me, his big downfall isn't so much that he makes these big kind of dumb movies. It's that they seem to be taking themselves extremely seriously, which I don't think is the way to go. So that's always for me is like, for a fun movie, it's like, what was the intention behind it, and how what do you feel like as far as the filmmakers and the actors, like what are they going for? Because if you're trying to make a very stupid concept be deadly serious with no sense of irony or taking it overly seriously, that sucks the fun out of it. For me, a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a great point. Any other last question there, George? And yes, of course, Dan and we would love to, if it works out, a show in the future could be a possibility for us. He knows I'd love to do anything with him. And if there's a series he wants me to work on for his Patreon or for his channel, I'm down to do it. So that's always in the air. So you just never know how things will work out. Any final comments, George?
Nope, that's everything. Okay. Just wanted to say appreciate both of your work and keep being safe out there.
Thank you. You too, man.
I have to say, George, I know you're having internet issues, but you sound like a great pilot. Great airline pilot.
I work for a phone company, so I talk on the phones every day. I get yelled at on the phones every day.
Well, I'm sorry that you get yelled at, but you have a great polish and you have a great phone voice.
You
so.
do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Take care, man. All right, let's. We got 3 minutes left, so we should start the wrap up here. We've answered all the Streamlabs. We've answered all the super chats. I can't believe we got through everything. We got over 367 likes, which I really thank everybody for watching and doing that for the show. Dan, thank you so much, brother, for taking the time to come on. I know you've got so much going on, stepping out of Screen Junkies, starting this YouTube channel, getting everything going, so I really appreciate you taking over 2 hours to hang out with me and the Outlaw Nation on the show.
It's my pleasure, man. It's part of it is now is I love that Roxy always used to get on to me when she was on SJ News because she always said like, Dan, do you have anything to plug? And I'd be like, whatever, I'm here. So follow me on Twitter, I guess. She with the cameras, she's like, you're terrible at plugging things. I'm like, so now I have stuff to plug, which
you
is
do.
And really, it's also just a great reason to hang out, particularly now, hang out with my friends and talk movies and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So plug away, man. Tell everybody where they can find you. And obviously it's all up on the screen, but plug it anyway. Go and tell everybody what they can do.
You can find the new YouTube channel at youtube.com/Dan Murrell Movies, because we mentioned I don't have Dan Murrell, but I got Dan Murrell Movies, and that's what we talk about. We talk about movies, probably TV, entertainment, box office, you name it. We're going to be talking about all of that over there. I have the launch video up now, which came out yesterday. It sort of outlines what I'm going to do with the channel. Tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting a live AMA, Ask Murrell Anything, on YouTube. The community tab on my channel. I'm taking questions through there. I'm taking questions from my patrons over on our Discord server. And if I get Streamlabs figured out, I'm also going to be taking questions on Streamlabs. So that's going to be tomorrow. I'm going to announce the time probably over on my Twitter account at MurrellDan on Twitter, so you can find out the time there. I'll also try to probably post a note somewhere on the YouTube channel as well. And you can find my Patreon page. It's that address right up above me, patreon.com/Dan Murrell. You get early access to the stuff that I'm doing over on YouTube. As I mentioned, at the director level, you get Dan's monthly movie club. I'm super excited to start that. You get a monthly live stream, a lot like this, that's exclusive to patrons. And then also at the highest level, you also get a shout out on YouTube. And also every month at the producer level, which is the highest level, you get a feature length commentary track every month. And you got, again, through Discord and everything, I'm talking to them to see what movie they want me to do. So you get to pick the movie, you get a feature length commentary track as well. And I'm learning on the job, and I'm learning stuff too. So I'm listening to people and taking suggestions, and a lot of people have had suggestions about more tiers or different tiers and everything else. I mean, it's an evolving thing. This whole thing is an evolution, and I'm sort of learning on the job, but it has been a really reinvigorating and energizing process. And I'm having a lot of fun meeting new people and learning new things, and I'm probably going to hit some walls and make some mistakes along the way, but it has already been a super fun adventure. So I appreciate everybody that's decided to take it with me so far.
It's part of the process, brother. It's going to be fun to watch it all come alive for you in this sphere, and cheer you on from the sideline, brother, man. It's great stuff to see that you're doing this, man. Again, thank you, Dan, for coming on the show. Always great to see you. Always great to hang out with you. I miss you too. It's tough that we're not like doing stuff, so hopefully this will end soon enough, and we'll be able to get back into a ring together and defend our belts, and kind of keep marching down the singles path. You and IG, me and the regular singles, and seeing where we go from there on the Schmoedown. Oh, one last thing. What do you have left to accomplish real quick in the Schmoedown? Is there anything you're focusing on besides the IG stuff and defending our belts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing right now is I got 2 belts to defend. Obviously, I've got my eye toward winning a third one. I think that's probably more of a long-term project. It already was before this delay, but even now when we come back, I know that the timing is going to be such that, I'm going to have to defend the singles belt, I know, pretty quickly, I'm sure. And we're going to have to defend our team's belt pretty quickly, I'm sure. And that is going to take a lot of time. And so I remain open to jumping into IG, but I know that also this sort of complicates things because I want to make sure that I'm giving everything to you as my teammate and then to the singles league as well. So it's going to be interesting to try to figure out the scheduling and the timing on IG as we come back, because I also want to make sure that I'm not neglecting the two belts. You know, two belts on the shoulders worth one in the whatever. Doesn't matter.
There you go.
I tried to improvise something.
All right, let's say goodbye to Dan and thank him so much for stopping by. Dude, it's always good to see you, and best of luck. And like I said, go and subscribe, go and join everything he's got going on. You won't be disappointed. I can guarantee you that. Dude, I didn't get to ask you half the questions I want to ask you. So please come back a little bit later down the road, and we'll have some more fun together. Is that cool?
Definitely. 100%.
Awesome. All right, take care, Dan. Good to see you,
Thanks,
brother.
John.
Love you, man.
Love you, brother.
All right, that was Dan Murrell, the great Dan Murrell, sitting in with us for a couple hours, a little bit over 2 hours. I can't thank him enough for doing so. Great stuff from Dan. Please follow him, as I just said here, on his social media, and go and subscribe to his Patreon. He was incredible tonight, giving so much of his time, and you all were incredible. Record numbers for the Outlaw Nation show in terms of the amount of people watching it, the amount of people liking it, and people sending in their stream loves in the super chat. So I can't thank you all enough for doing that. I would stay on for another 45 minutes, but I'm jumping onto the Cinefanatic show in about 12 minutes for them to interview me. So I get to relax a little bit and be asked questions instead of hosting the show. So that's going to be fun. Really love those guys and what they've done in the Schmoedown in community as reactors, and also as people who love movies, and two genuinely awesome dudes with great different points of views on movies and things like that. So I'm excited to be on it. Please follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram, on all the social media I do. Trying to get that Twitter above 20,000, that Instagram above 20,000, that Twitter above 35,000. And please subscribe to the channel. There's so much content running through here. Hit it down there. Hit that subscribe button, that red button down there. Get me over 20,000 subscribers on the channel. And of course, my Patreon down there, www.patreon.com/John Rocha. See all the multiple tiers I've got going on. Listen to Dan talk about the shows he's got planned. I realize I should have been doing that from the beginning. So it's a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a race, but I will catch up. I always have a good way of catching up. So I'll figure out shows. I've already been thinking about shows, but I'll figure out some more shows to put up for the Patreon members and attract some of you all to come aboard as well. It'll be a lot of fun to do that too. All right. Thanks to Wiley Todd. Thanks to Jake Iacovetta. Thanks to everybody who was in here tonight and helping out on so many levels, all the things we had going on. I hope we will catch you all next week. Scott Mantz will be my guest for next week on the Outlaw Nation show. That's right. Scott Mantz. He's coming on the show. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that one as well. And stay tuned for more guests coming down the show, coming down on the Outlaw Nation show in the future. And don't forget, Mornings with the Outlaw tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Back on that from 8:30 to about 9:45, 9:50, leading you into SCN Live. Come and join me 8:30 in the morning for that as well. All right. Until then, we'll see you next time on the Outlaw Nation show. And remember what I say at the end of every show. And for those who don't know, I will say it again. Whatever you need to do to get through the next second, next minute, next hour, next day, next week, next month, next year, please find your way to do it, especially during these times. I know it can be tough, but I want you around. I need you around. I need you to stay a part of the nation. If you stick around, you never know what might happen for you. It could surprise you and lead you to a whole new world. So thank you so much. Stay with us. We love you, and we'll talk to you next time on the Outlaw Nation show. Take care.